wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans by wrestling fans on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. And this is the week in review. And I gotta say, guys, we're on the road to WrestleMania because that I think is the big predominant thing, at least for mainly WWE fans. And I think we would even just think wrestlers that do or wrestling fans that sample a lot of stuff. WrestleMania is one of the biggest things going on. I would say, in terms of that, this week was fantastic. I thought Raw had good energy. I thought SmackDown had good energy. I think you and I both said about both shows that they have the long run times they do, but they felt like they burned so quickly, especially SmackDown this week. SmackDown felt like it could have been no more than 45 minutes to me. It really felt like it raced by. I thought NXT was great. I mean, boy, do they have a top fucking heel and Carmelo Hayes. I am going to be truthful. AEW, I was gripped for Swerve Hangman. I have my frustrations with that. I do also have my frustrations with everything Cody related with WWE. So it's not like WWE gets off completely scot free. I do just think on the whole, I've liked the energy of this week. But yeah, I was kind of in and out with AEW. Obviously, didn't check out Rampage. I increasingly become behind on TNA, which is a shame because I really do want to give it an honest shot, especially their tag division with them having GYV. Obviously, big news coming out this week as well, which we might want to touch on to start the show. Rossi is now out of Stardom. So many fucking reports coming out about that. I even told Ashton because it came out during Vengeance Day, which we reacted to courtesy of Super Blue. So thanks again for that, Super Blue. That's all Javaris wanted to talk about. But because Super Blue paid us for Vengeance Day, I wanted him to get his money's worth. We didn't breathe a word about Rossi. I even said, let's wait until Saturday and then maybe we'll get all of our ducks in a row then. I'm not even so sure about that, bro, because I still feel like it's crazy. I don't even know if I'm fully ready to talk about it, but it happened. Scott D'Amore is out of TNA, which, take it from me, given that I was paying attention a little bit, is not the best look because I had said, I think it was like 2 weeks ago on In Review during our extracurricular segment, dude cut the promo of his goddamn life, probably the life of the company, after Josh Alexander versus Will Ospreay too. And he cuts that passionate promo, and a few weeks later, he's gone. That's just not a good look to me. And yeah, as far as AEW goes, I mean, some of the booking still frustrates me. I was kind of in and out of the show. I just feel like disconnected from AEW, and that just may be a John thing at this point because Swerve Hangman was good. I just really don't care about a lot what happens in that universe. But on the whole, I would say this is probably the most enthused I've been about a week in the world of wrestling. Whether we're just talking about news, by the way, fuck Vince McMahon. I hope the whole world comes crashing down on him. We can't forget what's going on in WWE because that's exactly what the content's designed to do. Vince McMahon is a fucking predatory piece of shit, and we hope that, justice, whatever the fuck that means, is brought to him. But yeah, I think this is the most enthused about a week in the world of wrestling, just given everything that I've been, maybe even since this series started. I mean, it really popped off this week. How did you feel about it, though, man? I'm curious to get inside your head about it.
Yeah, man. So I kind of had a realization this week.
Sure, lay it on us.
I realized this week that I don't give a shit about AEW's wrestling matches.
Yeah, I think you and I are in the same place. Yeah,
Um, so I literally they could book like the biggest dream match imaginable, and they kind of already have because during the Continental Classic, they did in fact book Andrade versus Danielson. I still haven't watched it.
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
just, it just makes me realize that I don't give a shit about wrestling matches really anymore. Just matches in general is interesting to me, and really AEW is the core of this problem. But it has its tendrils in other companies. I think New Japan is probably the next closest part of this issue, where I've seen enough New Japan matches now where I kind of feel like I've seen them all. I think that's why
yeah,
Tsuji caught my attention so much last year because he's so different. You know.
yeah, yeah,
But like, yeah, man, like it's just really starting to hit me that like anything that happens in AEW, the only thing they are going to get my attention with is stories. And that is why like the Hangman Swerve stuff, the story is vaguely interesting, but really the story of Hangman isn't really interesting to me. The interesting part to me is Swerve's chase to the world title.
Right, and not to put words or opinions in your mouth. I mean, you're here to immediately correct the record. But just going by your reactions in the Discord, which everybody can join for $3 a month if you check out our Patreon description box below, it seems like the most compelling thing for you personally in wrestling is Io Bailey because that is so story driven. Like they haven't even had any
Yeah.
physicality yet. And then Dakota came in this Friday and I thought she had a stellar segment. And so I think if we were to understand your psychology with more of a concrete example on the positive side, you've been very responsive to Io Bailey and just we'll just say damage control and Bailey kind
Yeah.
of leaving damage control with this title shot because right now there's no physicality. But the thing is, like, I think you can appreciate a wrestling match more when there's a lot of narrative meat on the bone. Like, I feel like Io and Bailey, with the story they've set up, that match at Mania, even if it's not like this ridiculous spot fest, which it shouldn't be anyway,
Right.
is probably just going to be stellar in the fact that, I mean, these two had this relationship with each other. Then Io got paranoid, and Bailey's been received by the fans who I think have always wanted to cheer for her. Because that's the thing. I think Bailey was a great heel, but I think there were always people that, like, much like Becky, didn't want to boo her. And now that they
It's
can
like they're
cheer her
not
again,
booing
it's
you
like, yeah,
because they hate you. They're booing you because they hate not being allowed to cheer for you.
exactly, exactly. And so I just wanted to flesh you out a bit more because I what you're saying, I'm picking up a lot of what you're laying down because I've said myself the last couple of years that I'm more about story-driven characters. I've grown to hate Spot Fest because again, going back to when I watched Impact or excuse me, TNA early on, and I saw Josh Alexander and Will Ospreay too, and you've got the fans in the arena being like, "Fight forever," and this is all, and I'm like,
It feels
I
like
don't
there's
feel
just a
it.
total disconnect, right?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely,
like you're
100%.
watching a sport from another planet or something.
Yeah, yeah, I
It's
just
like
feel
it's like this
completely
whole other
divorced.
subculture within wrestling that has just completely left me behind.
Yeah, I like the funny thing is I don't feel that where quite exactly with Stardom, but I think like I've said before in Stardom, I also enjoy
Well,
the inner relationship
yeah, that's the
dynamics.
thing, right? Is I think that the big sort of cheat code with Stardom is that the big matches all do have a lot of story behind them, and that the girls
Yeah.
have very distinct characters. Because that I really I should walk what I just said back, because the real cheat code to Stardom is how real it feels. Because so
Yeah.
many people who watch Stardom don't realize that it is just as scripted, just as quote unquote fake as any other pro wrestling company, and that it is just as much of a work as any other pro wrestling promotion. But it's so easy to forget that when you're watching it because of how real they make it feel and because of how well they sell their characters and the stories of the promotion. It's they almost slip it in under your nose without you realizing it, and then all of a sudden you're invested.
Exactly. Like I even look at a match like Micah Kamitani recently from Stardom Supreme Fight that we
Yeah.
reacted to this past Thursday.
Yep.
Now, I'll be honest, as far as the match itself goes, it was good. It was a good match. It was nowhere near a bad match, but I feel like that wasn't the best effort we could have gotten from those two. But I think what really made the match was the story of the idea that Kamitani, she says, I am Stardom. And she almost feels like Micah, when I kind of think about the AJ Styles LA Knight storyline, and when AJ tells LA Knight, you walked over my body to get where you're at, I feel like Kamitani feels very similarly about Micah.
Yeah.
You walked over me to get everything that you got that was supposed to be mine. It was my year. And Micah, of course, is like, no. And then they have the match. But, I think that interpersonal dynamic is what really sold it. And so, yeah, I think you and I are both in a place with wrestling. And you know what? I don't want to keep because I feel like I'm that guy that just keeps romanticizing Lucha Underground. Way Lucha Underground was the start of that because I think it really did show us. Like when I think about a kill shot and Dante Fox, right, is what he went by in Lucha Underground, and that relationship. It's like wow, characters that are actually fighting for a reason, not to
I
just
think,
do flippy
yeah.
shit or whatever.
I think more
You
than
know?
anything, Lucha stories a lot of their feuds, and because of how well told those stories were, I ended up enjoying them anyway and making them like borderline match of the year candidates anyway.
Yeah, like,
That's like in
and again,
spite of the match type that they were, rather than because of.
yes, 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 exactly. Because, I think about something, something too with AEW, because you were saying like AEW, like I just don't care about AEW's matches. There was a match that I thought I would care about because that I'm big on the AEW front, at least. I'm big on Konosuke Takeshita. I
Yeah,
really like Takeshita. He had a match with Jericho this week. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I checked out. I think one because of Jericho, who just grosses me
dude,
out.
I'm telling you.
But like also, it's like I don't care about this story because the whole story was, oh, Don Callis wanted to bring in Jericho, but oh, not really. And it's like I don't feel like storytelling should be this complicated. Like even when you think about it, dude, the funny thing is, and I don't want to just seem like I'm just giving WWE like all the praise because again, they are trying to distract from the Vince thing. I think Triple H gave very horrible answers at the Royal Rumble press conference. I feel like they've handled the whole thing terribly.
Yeah.
And people that are friends with Triple H and friends with Vince that they're sweeping under the rug. Like I saw Kevin Nash's comments recently, and I'm like, dude, come on, Kevin. Like I really liked you, and then
I
you
mean,
got to
I
go
feel
and you got
like
to do this.
Kevin made comments relatively similar to the comments that Gala has made in our Discord, and I don't know. I think he might have said them more bluntly. I think he might have said them more
Yeah,
rudely, but I think they had pretty much the same sentiment, the idea that like what they were doing was consensual and that she's not suing because of anything like rapey. She's suing because Vince A showed her pictures to other people without her permission and B didn't pay her the NDA money that he agreed to pay her. Those are the reasons
yeah.
she's suing in the first place.
And I think, God, I know this is a wrestling podcast, so I don't want to go too deep into here because I feel like you never come back. But I feel like this is why we need deeper conversations about like what exactly consent is, and more broadly than that, just the kind of pitfalls of any asymmetrical dynamic like
Yes.
employer employee, because
That's kind
that's
of
the big
what
part
like
about
that's
this.
the angle that I felt as soon as I
Yeah.
saw the article in the first place was like, "Oh my god, this woman was taken advantage of. This is horrible." But like the law will not see it that way.
No. No. Because I don't want to be presumptuous here, but just the way that I see the facts as they've been presented thus far, this is more a matter for them of like contract law, right?
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
oh,
Yes.
you signed this and then you didn't pay out. So really, if anything, and the funny thing was I did contract law in community college for like, business administration, all that bullshit. So like it's kind of gross though, in a way that it's like it's
Yeah.
gonna all boil down to contractual terms when it's like there's a much broader conversation here about agency and asymmetry and like not being able to say no to your boss. Like, and that's what I mean too about consent. Because how can you
Right.
really consent when somebody has so much power over you? That's why
Right.
everybody always talks about like underage dynamics. You can't say that you're like 30 and this person's 17 in a state where the age of consent is like 16 because you're more mentally and emotionally developed than they are and you have this power even if it's invisible to you, which I doubt. But it's like, yeah, you've just got this unspoken power in the dynamic. Well, it's not even unspoken here, it's pretty freaking explicit. But so all that to say, because I was going to make an example earlier and thank goodness I held on to the rope. Even the Roman Reigns story, when you think about it, isn't really that complicated. Like, it's a guy that was, made insecure and paranoid because trying to be made the guy in a lab and like this babyface that the fans rejected, that left a scar on him. This idea of family pride going back generations. I will say The Rock presenting that visual of the family tree was a breathtaking visual,
Yeah.
and you see everything riding on it. But like that's what it is at brass tacks. Like, it's really not that complicated, and it's a story, though, that's been going on for over 3 years, and I can't speak for everybody because I know we have fans like Curtis and such that, like, can't stand it, so I don't mean to universalize this sentiment, but speaking for me, I still love it. Meanwhile, you've got these other stories, like, I feel like the Callis Jericho storyline, especially with Sammy kind of flip-flopping and everything, really unnecessarily muddied the waters, not to mention, too, if we're being honest, you're never gonna get a story off the ground when the people are just so unlikable. Like, it's like I'm gonna give you a lot less grace when you're just so unlikable. But yeah, I think
I
you and I are
honestly
in a
feel
very
bad for Konosuke Takeshita, man, because like he is an athletic guy, and there's definitely like a certain X factor about him. He's just in the wrong company to do anything with it.
bro, I am being completely sincere and unironic when I tell you I wish TNA was more credible and I wish they were bigger because I think he'd be such a good fit there at least for a year. Like
I
I
mean,
honestly
shit.
don't
Look at
feel
what
like he
Sonata
fits.
did
Yeah,
there with them.
yeah, exactly. Like
I
I
mean, shit.
just
Look at
yeah,
what Uemura just did there with them before coming back to Japan. He got pretty
yeah.
over there in TNA even.
Yeah, like, I feel like Takeshita would really do well there. Like, I really, really like him, and I share your sentiments. But to put a succinct point on it, although I've really been loving the flow of this conversation, I just think you and I are in a similar place where we're looking for more story-driven content,
Yeah.
and just being able to do a 450 isn't gonna pop us anymore. Like,
And
like,
also, I
come on.
noticed too during, because I already brought up the Continental Classic with Andrade and Danielson.
Yes.
I noticed during the Continental Classic, I don't know who it was. I know that somebody in our Discord posted this tweet. Somebody tweeted that everybody in the Continental Classic had a story going on. And like, if you just look at the tweet, only maybe 2 of the 12 guys actually had a real story going on. The rest of them were just the person describing their fucking arc in the tournament. Like, oh, they started winning, but now they have to start or they started losing, and now they have to see if they can try and win enough to win the tournament. It's like that's not a fucking story. That's just the person trying to win. That's not a story.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think that's another problem is that like a lot of the hardcore AEW fan base just lets them get away with the shit.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't tell, like, dude, even this is another really good example of what I'm talking about as far as like their fans letting Tony specifically get away with shit. The tweet about being grateful that Rossi got fired,
Yeah, that didn't sit right with me at all.
dude, there were fans in
Yeah.
the replies being like, get it, King, that kind of shit.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like their fans are toxic as fuck. Not all of them, obviously, but there is a sect of AEW fans that just enable Tony Khan constantly.
Oh, dude, I mean the tribalism, especially in a lot of online wrestling spheres, and really not to mention beyond tribalism, right? Because this is something I noticed. Look, I don't like Cody Rhodes at all. Um, I don't care for his story. I actually feel like they horribly mismanaged this because if you were just gonna pick Roman, I don't understand why you had to like do the sleight of hand just to get him extra sympathy when he's already, whether I like it or not, he's already clearly over. He's still moving merch. You didn't need to give him this extra push, and I wish you gave other people the kind of consideration that you give him, but that's a much longer and needless discussion. I was seeing people like screenshots of people sending Cody like death threats. We already know Rock's daughter Ava got death threats and she deleted her Twitter. They were wishing harm on his child. It's like it's fucking wrestling. Like you and I saying we want more story driven stuff. That's a very normal adult complaint at a time when you and I even made the joke recently about you and I. You and I take content a lot more seriously in terms of like how we prep and how we study and how we rewatch stuff. So you and I are very media driven. And watching as much media as we do, it's inevitably going to change your palate and it's going to raise your expectations, especially when you and I have been watching wrestling for decades, separately. And then when you put our experience together collectively, it's like, yeah, we have a lot of experience to share between the two of us. So like that's going to change. But I would never get so detached with somebody that I hate to be like, oh, whatever. Even people I hate like Naya and Charlotte, who I think are a blight upon the business. Am I happy that Charlotte's gonna miss WrestleMania? I mean, yeah, but I'd prefer that she didn't get injured. I would just prefer that she wasn't in the business at all and did something that actually made her happy. Because I don't even think she's doing it for herself, as we've talked about. But these fans, man, that just get so warped that it's like, oh, I want Cody to be in an accident. It's like, just get help. Seriously, Christ. So I don't know. It's and even poor Sammy even like tweeted and then he took back both of his tweets because I mean here's a guy that he's concerned, having roots in Palestine and everything going on there. He just tried to point out the fact that like I get that wrestling's escapism for people, but, maybe what if we channel this energy into something, more meaningful, something bigger than ourselves? And they harassed him and he deleted both those tweets. And I felt bad for the guy because I'm like, he was just talking sense. So I don't know, man. I just feel so disconnected, not only from the product, but just from the broader community. I'm like, I just don't really feel like this is a space for me these days,
Yeah.
save for a select group of people. I mean, obviously you included in our little Discord, but most people, it's like, yeah, I just can't relate because I see you cheerleading one thing, but then WWE could do a similar thing and you're like bashing it, or vice versa, and it's like, what's it all about?
Yeah,
Well,
and again, like
yeah,
it for me, and I am gonna bring us back here. Don't worry.
yes, of course.
My sort of apathy towards the matches in AEW also just led to me, even though I needed to know who won because obviously, like I said, I'm invested in Swerve's eventual crowning as the world champion in AEW. I didn't pay any attention to the match on Dynamite at all. I paid no attention to it whatsoever. The only thing that I caught was Prince Nana doing the Swerve dance to basically revive him to get him to avoid a count out.
Yeah, I will give the match credit for this again because I'm not going to try and force like, oh, what do you want to talk about first? Like, again, I'm really enjoying the flow of this, and let's keep it as organic as possible. So just to talk about that match since it got brought up, I enjoyed the storytelling in it in the sense that I could tell that a double turn was happening.
Yeah.
Um, I personally, I gotta say this. I mean, obviously, Swerve and Hangman can go in the ring. I love that Prince Nana wasn't a heel. Like he was just genuinely like just trying to encourage Swerve and this and that.
Enthusiastic.
He was enthusiastic, which is why when Hangman blasted him with a chair, it got great freaking heat because you can't say that it was a receipt. The man did nothing wrong. And plus, not to bring it here, but we've been kind of mentioning throughout this feud, Hangman's been kind of racially insensitive at times, particularly to Prince Nana, like saying, "I'm going to beat you up and steal your weed" and stuff like that. And then you assault him for being enthusiastic. Like it's coded a certain way when we know we live in a society where black bodies deal with a lot of violence unnecessarily on a regular goddamn basis for
Yeah.
just living their lives. And
Mm-hmm.
so I can't help but see it through that prism when Hangman's already said like really racially insensitive things to Nana and Swerve. So I'm primed for Hangman to be a heel, especially if he's going to be this kind of piece of shit.
The
I
only
will
thing
say
that
though,
makes me worried about now, though, is that Hangman is just going to win the world title before Swerve again. Like we're going
yeah,
to get Hangman winning a second world title before Swerve gets one, and then eventually, maybe by the end of 2024, if we're lucky, Swerve beats Hangman for the title.
yeah. And dude, again, like I know I've had this complaint a lot. First of all, I do think you have a valid complaint. I just want to address that and not just gloss over it because I think it would be par for the course for AEW. I'm still worried about AEW, man, like on a racial issue because Swerve may really want to be the guy and they let him cut the promo, but that doesn't mean that Tony is going to pull the trigger. And here's the thing too, and we should acknowledge this. And I'm not trying to wish ill on AEW or trying to like yuck anybody's yum, right? Because I know we both taken to liking that phrase.
Yeah.
But even if Swerve wins the title, I would also keep a side eye on his title reign because we saw what happened with Jamie Hayter.
Yup.
No reason like why Swerve can't have I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying even when he wins the title, let's not throw flowers at Tony Khan. I want to see the whole reign play out. Then we talk about it. But
And
to take a
keep
few
Chris
steps,
Jericho's old ass the fuck away from him.
oh God, but please keep Chris Jericho's fucking old ass well, really away from everything. But I know that's not going to happen. So I think what you suggested is, yeah, keeping him away from Swerve is a hell of a good start. But I know that I've complained about this a lot. And I know it's just, John, it's wrestling now. Get over it. But like I did pay attention to the match. So I
Nice.
just want to say this. I'm just again, man. I'm so tired. Like, I get that professional wrestlers are in better shape than me. I get that professional wrestlers are tougher than me. There were times I used to play wrestle with my friend. Like, we'd get, the mattress, we'd do the old school stuff. I would stub my toe on a dresser and I'd be like, oh God, man, I'm calling an audible in me for three and stubbing my toe, right? I get that pro wrestlers have worked through pain. Now, Cody wanted to show off he fought with a torn pec, but like, you also have to get me to suspend my disbelief. And I know everybody's different, everybody's got a different threshold. But I'm hating when I see people eat fucking offense. I know you had that recently with a Hook kicking out of the muscle buster at one, which was just egregious. For me,
And
I had a similar
Goldust
moment.
kicking out of the kill switch.
And was kicking out of the kill switch. We had another moment like that again, for me personally, when Swerve hit a buckshot lariat, which looked fucking amazing. Suck it, Felonious, and or Fildred, the name you came up with, which I adore. Um, and a second house call. He had hit one prior to this. Hit a second one.
House call, is that the swerve stomp?
That's a swerve stomp, yes. Um, and Hangman just kicks out at two.
You know what? I'm fine with that because he didn't hit the JML driver, and that's his actual finisher.
That's fair. It's just a hard sell for me, man. Like it's just, it's like how much offense can a human body, no matter how well conditioned, eat and just be expected to keep getting these near falls?
Well,
And like,
I
yeah,
mean,
um,
how many times can somebody get hit with a high fly flow and still kick out, right?
true, true.
How
And
many times
again,
can
that
someone get
yeah,
hit by the Okada short arm lariat and still kick out because the Rainmaker is the one that matters, right?
Yeah,
Or like
yeah.
with Naito, how many different variations of Destino can he hit and it still gets kicked out of until he does the wrist lock variation of it?
True. But then I think you have other spots though, like in my defense. Like I don't even who was it? Was it Swerve that went to the table because Hangman hit the dead eye? And like
No, it was the other
then
way
he
around.
well then that's
Swerve
it.
hit the Deadeye on Hangman. That pissed me off because Hangman was up and doing offense within like 30 seconds of that shit.
There you go. That's what I mean though, dude, because especially when you compound it to the offense that I just talked about, it's like where's the wear and tear? Where's the selling? Where's because here's the thing. I get that you're better conditioned. I get that you're an athlete, but Jesus, I'm not even asking you to bleed. Like Moxley does that enough for all of us, although I think he's been more restrained lately. But, like, show the struggle at least, show the wear and tear because I don't care how good your cardio is. Oh my god, I went through a table head and neck first. That really fucking hurts. I'm thinking about my family. Can I still feel my fingers? Let me crawl back to the ropes. Let me kinda crawl a little bit, make it seem like I can't even get my bearings because how could anybody get their bearings when their equilibrium is shot? Like, give me some
Well,
drama
that's the
here.
kind of stuff though that kind of snowballs that are not snowballs, but like that kind of contributes. That's like that game, and we've seen the Stardom girls actually play this, where you have a cup or a glass full of water, and you have a bottle of water, and you have to just add. It's like you take turns adding water to the glass, and whoever finally adds the drop that makes it spill over loses.
Yeah.
That's shit like this with me, man. Like the glass overflowing is me not caring about your matches, which is what we've kind of established has already happened for me. Shit like Swerve hitting Hangman with a dead shot through the table and Hangman being good and just being able to do offense within 30 seconds is a fucking drop into that glass, man. It contributes to me not giving a fuck about your matches because like nothing fucking matters. There are no consequences to anything until however long the match has been pre-decided to go has been reached and someone pins someone. That's like it's like nothing in between the bells fucking matters. The only thing that matters is who wins, and that is fucking it. And then at that point it's like, why am I even watching the show? Why am I not just waiting until the show ends and then looking back at a recap and reading like, oh well, this person won, that person won, that person won? I basically just watch Dynamite because the actual content of the matches don't fucking matter.
And I think to kind of crisscross it to another program, because it just makes me think about things that I really liked, I have to give NXT a lot of credit because Vengeance Day, and I want to focus particularly on the main event scene. I thought Trick and Dragunov, I really enjoyed their match. I thought there was a real grittiness to that match, a real emotion in that match. You could tell Trick selling, I thought, especially of his knee, was fantastic. It's better than I see most of like 90%, I'd say, of the AEW roster.
Yep.
And Dragonov's bleeding this and that. Now, Dragonov, I think I like him more than you. I know that you do not care for Dragonov at all,
I think
but I
Dragunov
felt like,
sucks personally. I will say though,
yeah,
I will say I watched NXT much more intently this week than I watch most wrestling shows, and I thought that Trick Dragunov was a damn good match.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I thought it was a good match as well. I thought Dragonov, for his part, on the following Tuesday, because this is another a point that I wanted to make. So I thought they had a great match at Vengeance Day. Carmelo's beat down a Trick, and again, Trick selling of that beatdown amazing. Carmelo, dude, Carmelo got such heat between that and the NXT after Vengeance Day that producers had to come out and say, if you keep chanting like "fuck you, Mello," we got to take the show off the air. Like they're just not going to let it air. That's how much heat he was getting. Trick doesn't show up on the show at all, so he actually sold the beating. It even makes me think of that AEW matchup I hated when it was Hangman and Omega, when Hangman was still like that sympathetic, depressed cowboy babyface, and Omega really got his leg worked over, but then, like, he's just walking out of the arena just fine.
I have to
And
correct
it's like,
myself, by the way. I'm sorry to cut you off.
of course.
I did enjoy Ilya Trick, but what I was trying to say there was that I paid attention to NXT this week, and I thought that Ilya Dijak was a damn good match.
I agree, and I'll give Dragunov credit because Dijak's a beast, and my heart breaks for him because the Joe Gacy stuff I just hate. So see, I could
And
be
and
even
well, and
handed.
dude,
I
Joe
hate the Joe
Gacy
Gacy stuff.
even wrestled, I believe, on this episode of NXT, on this week's episode of NXT, and I thought it fucking sucked.
Yeah, Joe Gacy is
Or
not
no, it
good.
wasn't him. It
Yeah.
wasn't him. It was it was Lexus King that I'm thinking of. I
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
group those
no,
guys
yeah.
together because they're both just like bottom of the barrel shitters.
Absolutely. But what I liked about Dragunov Dijak was that Dragunov was selling the nose from Vengeance Day, and then after that match where Dragunov wins, Mello lays Dragunov out, and Dragunov again is selling it, which gives Mello more heat. Like I've even been hearing that AEW ticket sales are down because they don't have a defined baby face, and I definitely agree that that seems to be a problem. But I think another thing is how can your heels really be villainous when like nothing really sticks, right? Like if I drive you through a table or I drive your back through the apron or whatever, and it's like 3 minutes later you're up, where's the drama? Like I think Shawn Michaels as a person, I wouldn't really care to be friends with him or whatever. But as a kid, I was always enthralled by his performances because whether he was selling his back because it's like, oh my god, the bad back, or whether he was bleeding, it's like you could tell when he was in the thick of it, he was fighting for everything. I miss wrestlers like that. I think that's why I love Juice as a babyface, man, because I remember Juice being really solid at selling and like him pulling down deep and getting that win. Like we need to remember the theater in pro wrestling, which I think is very it's synergistic with our broader concern about not enough narrative meat on the bone.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at what Mello, Trick, and Dragunov are doing. I think that's one of the, at least keeping it to NXT, I'd say it's the best story NXT has. And if you want to look at the broader wrestling landscape, like I still think Bailey and Io is running away with it. But I think, for me personally, Mello and Trick, their story is right up there because I'm telling you, dude, even me, and my whole shtick is, oh, I love heels because on a serious level, I love a good villain. Although it's hard anymore because again, what sticks?
Right.
But Mello has been one of the better villains I've seen in a long time, and I'm looking forward to Trick giving him his. Like that is going to be so satisfying when Trick finally shows up. By the way, to give Trick even more credit, he has not tweeted since Vengeance Day, and that was back on
See
February 4th.
that
He,
that
yeah,
right there is discipline. I love that and I appreciate that. Good on Trick.
yeah, because because it's like, what do you expect me to tweet? My entire life was shattered. The world title shot that I worked hard to earn slipped through my fingers. I'm injured. And oh, yeah, that injury was caused by a person that I called my brother and that I willfully invited to ringside with me on the biggest match of my fucking life. That's
Yep.
selling it. That's selling it. Like, I'm again to go to Swerve Hangman. There's this animus here because Hangman hates Swerve. I'll actually give Hangman credit for his acting. He was apoplectic when the match went to a draw, and then it was announced to be a triple threat. And he's like, "Oh, but he didn't beat me. He didn't beat," because he's so obsessed with Swerve not being world champion. Which here's the other thing. That can be a fascinating character trait. When you hate somebody so much, it's like, yeah, being champion would be cool. You know what would be even better? Him not being the champion. That's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it's necessarily being played with for all it can be played with. But again, that's just
No,
me.
I will say I think
Yeah,
that that is an interesting angle of the story for sure. I think that they are
yeah,
doing well with that side of Hangman. The problem
yeah,
is I don't want Hangman to be the main fucking character of this story. This should not be Hangman's fucking story. It should be Swerve's story. I don't know why Tony Khan insists on making Hangman equally as important as Swerve in this story. Hangman had his fucking time. He's a champion. He did his shit. He should be putting Swerve over, not trying to fucking crab in a bucket, grab Swerve, and pull him down to his level so that he can maintain relevancy. Swerve's the fucking star right now. They need a top babyface. Swerve's right fucking there. They're already
yeah.
starting the double turn. They shouldn't be doing the double turn by cranking up the heat on Hangman. They should be doing the double turn by having Swerve be a top fucking megastar babyface.
And I don't want to come down too hard on AEW for this part. I mean, maybe I should though, because when we say AEW, we're practically meaning Tony Khan and fuck billionaires always and forever. I feel like in their own misguided way, they feel like they're doing it because you could tell in the match, like when Hangman was going after the ankle of Swerve and this and that, and Swerve for his part was really selling it, and then he's all breathy again on the mic when it's TLD, and he said, "I didn't come all this way to just do it like that. You know what? I'm going to say 5 more minutes." And then you give Hangman the heat of denying him that. It wasn't a bad match by any means. And I give those guys credit within the parameters of what they were allowed to work with for making happen what they made happen. Again, I think our broader points still stand firm. And I think you're right. Like, if you really, this should be Swerve's story, and you should be making him the mega babyface, not really necessarily be so concerned with making Hangman the top heel
Well,
because
that's
when you
been the
make
problem
Swerve,
though with AEW literally since their first show is that they don't ever want to let anyone look weak. They don't ever, they
Yeah.
always constantly feel they need to protect everyone. I'll never forget, I think, was it Darby Allin? I shouldn't say I'd never forget and then immediately talk about like not
I,
being
I
sure
do
about
that all the
things.
time, brother. No judgment.
But no,
I
but
get
really
you
what
on
I'm
that.
saying I'll never forget though is like there was a show early on, and I think it was either Cody or Kenny though, went to like a 15-minute TLD with somebody that we've never fucking heard of before. And it's like, who are we trying to fucking build here? And that is a problem that has persisted to this day. And even now, we are getting this situation where, like, you should be building Swerve. Why are you trying to build Hangman simultaneously? It's like, I mean, even just with the Samoa Joe and Hook thing, I get that you want Hook to look legit, but Samoa Joe is your brand new top heel champion. Why are you having Hook bitch out his mega finisher? What the fuck? Or like,
Dude. Yeah.
or Christian and Goldust. On what planet does Goldust, of all fucking people, need the credibility of the only man in AEW to kick out of the kill switch? Are you fucking kidding me? He doesn't need
I,
it at all. He never needed anything like that. There's no reason to have him do shit like that. W always feels the need to protect people to an unnecessary degree.
well, and that is what bothers me, dude, because okay, so I want to bring up 2 points hand in hand, if I may. So first, it makes me think of the Chelsea Green interview, that clip I shared from Chris Van Vliet, where she said, winning doesn't really matter. I don't care about winning. Like when I was in TNA and I was Knockouts champion and I was winning, nobody ever said like, "Oh, she wins a lot." People were only starting to talk about me when I did Hot Mess Van Ness. And she even mentioned like John Mayer of all people looked at me like I met him and he was like, your character reminds me of like a lot of people I dated. And what I did in the Royal Rumble in WWE, like that's what people talk about. Not that I won the Royal Rumble, but that I got eliminated so quickly, in her performance last year. And then I think this year, like that I did last longer, but man, the beating she took
Yeah.
while lasting that long. It's about so like Chelsea Green understands. It's not about how I look. I'm not trying to look like some shoot badass like
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey because Ronda Rousey had this toxic mindset about the business. I'm
Oh my
trying
god, I know,
to
dude. Yeah, Ronda would fit
yeah.
right in AEW. No wonder they had her show up at the one ROH show. Fuck, she fits right in there.
And then I think the other point that I think bears more upon what you've just said about like nobody can look weak, everybody's gonna look strong. And I'm only bringing this up because I really love the one woman in it, even though I can't stand the other woman in it. If you look at how they're building Rhea Knight, now Rhea is hella fucking over, and Rhea, she's not only a dominant champion, but for all intents and purposes, she's like the spiritual leader of Judgment Day because she calls the shots and everything else. She's strong, right? But they have had no problem, even when she's looking for a fight from Nia, like she did this past Monday. I'm not here to talk about chamber qualifying matches. Nia Jax, get out here. And then Adam Pearce, who again, I've been loving the authority figures on both shows. He's like, look, I'm going to give her a chamber. We're not doing this. And then they have the brawl because Nia comes out. And Nia, even though Rhea was ready this time and she wanted the fight, she lost the fight because she gets hit with the Annihilator again, which
Right.
Rhea sold by laying on the ground for several minutes.
Right. Well,
Now,
and
I
again,
dare
too,
anybody,
also, just to interject before you continue what you were saying,
yeah,
that also does a better job to sell the pay-per-view because you're wondering how the hell is Rhea going to manage to beat this woman when every time they've interacted, Nia has beaten her ass and left her laying.
precise. I'm so glad you brought that up because that's an excellent point. I was just going to punctuate it by saying, I dare anybody to tell me that just because Nia's gotten the upper hand twice, that all Rhea's weak now and they're making the women's championship a joke. Like, say what you will about WWE, and we have said a lot over the years,
Yeah.
so nobody can say that we haven't. But it's amazing to me that all this time later, they still haven't fully abandoned and forsaken Wrestling 101.
You know
Because you
how
even see it in stories like this.
you know how for
Yeah.
years now I've been saying that like Charlotte Flair being the prime example, but like really just like people that are trained exclusively in the performance center might be athletic, might be good talkers, might be good, might have cool move sets or whatever, but they don't really understand the fundamentals of wrestling and that they don't really understand like the idea of like making your opponent look good so that you look good and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that's Tony Khan's problem too, that he just does not understand that.
No, I don't think he does,
Like he doesn't
man.
understand that you have to book some people to look better than others for the betterment of the whole company. Like there has to be a hierarchy in your wrestling company because like, when you bring in a fucking Action Andretti, and he beats Chris Jericho, all of a sudden that's not going to make Action Andretti look like a main eventer because he's still Action fucking Andretti. But what it is going to do is make Jericho look like a geek so that the next three guys that beat him, it means nothing.
Exactly, like, you even reminded me, not that I forgot, but just in this context, that Action Andretti beat Chris Jericho. I'm supposed to be, like, awed that Konosuke Takeshita beat him even if it was with a lion tamer. It's like, it's Chris Jericho, this guy's lost to Action Andretti. He lost to fucking Orange Cassidy once in, like, the Orange Mimosa, whatever type matchup
Oh
that they
yeah, I
had.
remember
Like,
Mimosa Mayhem.
Mimosa Mayhem, yeah, yeah, yeah. And, like, and then they try and go for more, like, dramatic moments. Like, you look at AEW this week and, freaking Sting and Darby Allin win the tag titles, which apparently, if the article posted, I believe, by DBK and Wrestling News is to be believed, Sting didn't even want to see happen, which I'll credit Sting because he's probably thinking the same thing we all are. Guys, I'm in my 60s. Like, what are we doing? Like, these guys are young guys. Have them destroy us, or at the very least, if I gotta win, maybe have Darby get the win or something. But no, it's Sting pinning Ricky, and it's whatever. And I still like Ricky to a degree, so I kind of felt bad for the dude. But, and I'll give them credit. I think they did the best with what they got. Apparently, I saw a GIF of one really, admittedly incredible spot by Big Bill, actually, where he caught Darby in midair and hit like a boss man spinning sidewalk slam. It genuinely looked
Big
impressive.
Bill's
I should
good,
be,
man. We always felt like when he was Big Cass in WWE, we've always
yeah.
seen a lot in that guy. He just, when he was in his tail end run in WWE was just so bad because they had him being so dopey on the mic for whatever reason.
Yeah, and, like, this again is just my personal, at this point, I guess, anti AEW bias because they're celebrating with the tag titles after this hard fought matchup where Darby again sacrifices himself because, say what you will about Mick Foley and Jeff Hardy, I have never seen a more quintessential spot monkey than Darby Allin. I think he's got both those
Dude,
guys fucking beat for my money.
yep.
That's just me. But then again, I'll be honest, how I came up in pro wrestling because I alluded to earlier our collective viewing experience. You've been watching for several decades. So have I. I started watching in 2002. I always loved Mick's promos. I always loved his character work. Again, going back to character work. And with Jeff Hardy, it's hard to say a character for him, but I think people gravitated to him because he was sincere. I think that kind of awkwardness and shyness was identifiable in a way
So
for a lot
basically,
of
what you're
people.
saying is Darby Allin is all of the bad that those two guys had with none of the good because
Yeah,
there's
precisely.
not a sincere bone in that kid's body.
No, no, not at all. Like, yeah, it just get on a therapist couch for God's sakes. But they're they're, celeb- they're celebrating with the tag titles, and Sting gets his sons in the ring and this and that, and then the Bucks come out, Matthew and Nicholas, with this new heel character they've got going on, the white suits, and they beat the crap out of them, and one of them, I think it might have been Matt, he bloodies Sting, he gets the blood on his white suit, which I'll admit was somewhat of a cool
I'll
visual.
also say, man, just because we're talking about how much we yearn for story in wrestling, I am loving this new version of the Young Bucks. They are such fantastic douchebags. I'm surprised you haven't come on here singing their praises.
Maybe because I haven't really given myself to it yet, to be fair. Because I'll tell you, you being that enthused does give me pause that maybe this is John's sour grapes from his vineyard of being old. Because like that they beat him up, and it was a good beatdown segment. It's just I don't know. I think
Is this
it's
like another
hard.
Jimmy Uso situation where like you just hate what he's done in the past so much that you can't give yourself to the heel character and fully embrace the douche?
I I think it is because I even admitted to you, and again we'll chalk this one up to being about me, where I have Buck burnout because they've just been in your face, I think, for so many years.
Right,
And I think I've always wanted them to do something new, but now it's kind of too little too late. And it might even not even be too little, but it still feels too late.
right.
Um but the beatdown again, I did like the visual of the white suits like enmeshed with like Sting's blood and this and that, and they're like the titles, and they even laid out Sting's kids. I gotta be honest, on the production side, I really don't care for AEW's commentary because Shivani trying to condemn it. It's like, well, you're a Sting mark. Like, who cares what you
Dude,
have to say? Like,
Shivani is not good. Excalibur is okay. Taz is entertaining in like a drunken uncle kind of way.
yeah,
Their
yeah,
commentary team needs work. I don't think their commentary team is all that good, honestly.
bro.
Nigel's great, but he's barely
yeah,
on.
bro, I can't tell you as a kid who wanted to do play-by-play for a living for a good bit of his life because he loved pro wrestling commentary that much, how soul-sucking it is to see the state of pro wrestling commentary.
Yeah.
Because it either goes from being, like, passable to, like, "Oh my god, this is terrible." And they're like, Tom Hannafin's on TNA. I'm gonna be honest. I think he's above TNA, even with the improvements they've made. I miss him in the E. I can't believe they let him go. I like, especially
Part of
because of the
me does hope that, and this isn't me hoping for someone to be jobless, just to be clear, but part of me does hope that Anthem, with the new regime coming in, does let him go and he's able to go to one of the two major companies, because his voice being behind the desk for one of either of WWE or AEW would improve whichever product he goes to by a degree or two.
yeah. Oh, dude, I'm so happy you said that because I agree with you 1000%. That dude's voice was made for pro wrestling, and like that's why I'm gobsmacked
I mean,
by
dude, here's
WWE.
the
You
thing:
put yeah,
SmackDown literally doesn't have a play-by-play commentator right now. Like Corey Graves is trying his damnedest, but he's not meant for play-by-play. He's a color guy.
and I'll even give Corey credit. God knows I've been beating the crap out of the guy verbally the last couple of years. Like he hasn't been nearly as annoying to me lately as he's been like the last several years. So I could tell that I think he is trying to make this work. But like
Yeah.
you put 10 years into Tom. 10 years. And like dude, there have been times I even go back and I watch old WWE exclusives that like he's a part of. And he's just got such a presence and he just seemed to fit so organically there. And now
Yeah.
he's in TNA. And like TNA's gotten a bit better. I don't want to unnecessarily crap on them, but when I say that I think he's above TNA, like I mean it. Like this dude should be a part of a bigger production than what he is. I mean, this guy should be calling WrestleManias, not Slammiversaries in front of like 2,000 people. Like I'm sorry. It just, like I
Oh.
as somebody that loves commentary, that feels like commentary is so vital to a wrestling show. And you talk about Excalibur. See, Excalibur, if I could just continue being a dick, clearly, Excalibur has the opposite problem because I think he's on a stage that's too big for him. I actually feel like when I think about him in PWG, he fit in so well there, and that was such a great niche for him. But I feel like now that you're a part of like a mainstream wrestling program, it's like your shtick and like what you bring, it's only really good and really shines on those PWG DVDs. And like I just don't see it as
Well,
fit for
yeah,
like a
because he
mainstream wrestling
brings
show.
more of like a casual informality to the desk,
Yeah,
which is great in that setting. But when you're on television, you don't want your commentary to be like embarrassing. And, you know, when you've got a guy being as casual and as informal as Excalibur is, it can be kind of embarrassing sometimes.
it's amazing
So,
that in the year of our Queen Utami, that the best commentator that I hear on a regular basis might very well just be Michael Cole. Now that Vince is like not in his ear all the goddamn time,
exactly.
like
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean,
I
I think
yeah
we've both given Michael Cole our Commentator of the Year award for the last like 2 years running now.
yeah like it's getting to a point now, and I have to even wonder how
Yeah,
Michael
I just
feels
want to
about it.
confirm, by the way, before you continue, I'm
Yes,
looking at our awards, and we've both given Michael Cole our Commentator of the Year now 2 years running.
yeah.
And prior to that, in 2021, it was McAfee.
I will say too when I think about commentary because I think Byron Saxton, yeah, he was on for NXT this week. I like
Yes.
Byron. I feel like Byron really like it took him a while, as it would anybody
I
doing
miss the
something new.
power couple of Tom and Byron. They were great together.
You and me both, man. God damn. But like Byron, I feel like made Vic Joseph more palatable, at least to me. I know you can't stand Vic Joseph, so I won't try and speak for you on that. But I think Byron kind of made him a bit more palatable. And them kind of talking about Carmel and everything. I do wish Booker T was here though, because he's such like a Trick Williams super fan. I can't imagine how apoplectic he'd be at Carmelo's betrayal, but we'll get Booker T back eventually. Um, but yeah, commentary is important. Personnel is important. It's funny, like Renee. I know Renee's probably happy to be in AEW because she's there with John, and they get to, work together. But I feel like I liked her better in WWE. I feel like I've actually kind of liked her a bit less. Actually, if you want to know my favorite personalities, still love Kathy Kelly. Love Lexi Nair for Ring of Honor because of what she's done with Athena and Billy Starks. And even some of the NXT personnel, even though I can't recall their names at present, I like, and of course Samantha Irving is just the best ring announcer that they've got right now. Like she's incredible. So And fuck Justin Roberts. If we're talking about AEW as well, like he's so obnoxious. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I mean that was AEW. The big story was Sting winning the tag titles. We got a triple threat there with Joe, which I felt like maybe we kind of wasted a third match just to get to a triple threat that we could have just done. I don't know. And some stuff in between that, to be honest, I didn't care about. Like I said, Takeshita making Jericho tap out, whatever. And then that big, six man where it was the Blackpool Combat Club versus God, what even was it? Who did they even face? Stars of CMLL or something.
Oh,
Um,
wait. When are you talking about Collision tonight, or are you talking about Dynamite still?
no, I'm talking about Dynamite because yeah, they faced Hechicero,
Oh,
Volador
Hechicero,
Jr.
Mascara Dorada, and Volador.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so that was AEW. Oh, and we got the biggest wink wink nudge nudge I've ever fucking seen. That hey guys, hey guys, March 13th, it's Mercedes. Hey guys, you
Mm-hmm.
hear that, Mercedes?
Did you see the little Boston with the two S's with dollar signs through them?
Yeah, because they didn't make it obvious enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. God, and even she tweeted the lyrics to her old theme, which has got all of her diehard fans being like, "Oh my god, please tell me that Tony Khan paid for Sky's the Limit." I swear to God, people like, oh my god. I didn't even hate her Snoop Dogg variation of the theme. I don't know why her like diehard fans hated that theme so much, but regardless, yeah, Mercedes is coming.
Her diehard fans aren't predominantly white, are they?
No, no,
Hmm.
not that I've noticed anyway.
Interesting.
And also Okada's probably coming too. I know a lot of you had
Yeah.
dreams,
And by
I
a
did
lot of you,
too.
you mean mostly Javaris.
Javoris, and there were a few other people I saw that really like. You'd be surprised that outside of Foster, I did see other people be like, "Oh yeah, Okada would chase you," and I'm like, "Wait, so that's actually a thing? Like, what the hell?"
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was essentially Dynamite. I really don't want to go back to the format of asking, "Oh, so what do you want to talk about?" Because again, I've really enjoyed
So,
this
dude,
organic, like, kind of
I wanted to
flow.
actually talk to you real quick,
Perfect.
since you're ready to transition anyway. I didn't
Yeah. What's
watch.
up?
I did not watch either of Collision or Rampage because, again, I don't give a fuck about AEW matches anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Neither did I.
but
Yeah.
I am looking at the results, and Tony Storm wrestled two matches this week, and Deonna Purrazzo wrestled one, and all three of them were against black women, and the white girls won all of them.
And you wonder why, to circle back to what I said earlier, why I said we should be keeping a steady eye on the Swerve story even after he wins the title. Because,
I'm telling you, man.
yeah,
Like, yeah, like literally, Tony Storm on Dynamite beat Red Velvet,
right.
and then on Collision tonight, Tony beat Queen Aminata, while Deanna beat Kiera Hogan.
Yeah.
Why are all of the black girls in AEW jobbers?
And then Anthony is either going to be like, oh, see, it's all to lead up to a faction with them, which, like, that would be cool if they had credibility.
Right. So we're gonna
Or,
do another devil-like faction where we build up to this awesome thing, and then it happens, and then they're just goons and geeks and dweebs.
exactly. Or like just nothing happens and he shrugs his shoulders and he's be like, look guys, maybe you're too color focused, maybe being colorblind isn't such a bad thing because I haven't noticed. And then we just kind of look at him as we die inside and we just want to just, well, I don't really shouldn't finish that thought, but to put it as PC as possible, just kind of shake him and say that's precisely the problem, Anthony. Maybe think about it a little more. I'm not tilting, everyone else is clearly.
There's good news
So
though.
yeah.
There was one black woman did win a match this week. It was Willow Nightingale teaming with Chris Statlander
Yes.
to defeat the team of Ruby Soho and Soraya, thanks to the fact that Ruby Soho walked out on Soraya.
Yes, I was actually very happy for Ruby that this happened.
Did you see the clip?
Uh, no, I wish I would have though,
Yeah,
because that
okay,
is
so
something I'm
it was one
excited
of those
about.
things where Ruby had her hand out like she wanted to tag. Soraya jumped to tag her and she dropped down off the apron.
Oh, okay. So it
And
was one of
then
those. Nice.
Harley Cameron came over to try and be like, "Hey, no, this isn't okay. What are you doing?" And Ruby clocked her,
Nice.
and the crowd popped for
Harley
for that.
Cameron weirds me out. Like I don't even know if she's like a bad worker, but just the character, like
I
I'm
don't
not
know if
vibing
she's
with it
even
at
a
all.
worker. Period.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
I don't either, man.
I
You and I
I don't
both.
yeah, I don't know what's happening. Yeah, what Foster brought up, like, AEW, Trick Mello, Happy Black History Month, y'all. Like, yeah, like that is one thing I'll say about Trick Mello. Again, I'm loving the story,
Bro,
and kudos to Mello.
bro,
Yeah,
Swerve literally cut a promo last Saturday about how he can't lose to Hangman because it's Black History Month and he has to continue to create Black history. And AEW couldn't even give him that. They had to go to a draw. And now the actual match for the title isn't going to happen in Black History Month. It's going to happen on March, I think, 4th, I want to say. It's going to be first week in March.
I would say that Anthony did a full Tobias, but the problem is he didn't even hesitate. He was just straight up like, "No, no, that's not happening." Swerve, good promo though. Yeah, good promo.
Yeah.
But you know, I loved Mello's heel work. I really did. I love Noel's heel work, and the crowd didn't get on my nerves. The crowd, I think, gave him heat in a way that, like, really was about him and didn't seem to make it about themselves. It was about him and it was about Trick, the two people that it should principally be about.
Yeah.
I even loved they showed an exclusive where Carmelo beat up Joe Gacy, which, I mean, you're trying to be a heel, right? So why are you making me pop? And then the crowd was kind of chanting at him like, Mello, Trick's coming for you. Mello, Trick's coming for you. And like Mello for just a split second got like this worried look on his face, like, oh yeah, I guess he will come back eventually. I guess there are consequences. Didn't really think about
Shit.
that. Yeah. Guess I'm gonna win the NXT title though, so fuck you. And like, so I really enjoyed his work, but I think it needs to be said, and then this is just more John speaking as John, since this has been a very different week in review, and I say that in the best way because I don't know, I've loved the whole vibe of this. Um, we need to teach people that friendship is okay. Like, why in the history of pro wrestling is the New Day like the healthiest fucking friendship we've ever seen? Like everything, it's always some heel turn or some jealousy or some fracture. Like even Jensen and Briggs, which I already kind of wafted the gas in the Discord of my brain fart about that, about like, oh guys, it's all leading to Fallon turning heel because she's upset because her and Ren keep losing and this mentor mentee relationship isn't working. And then Jensen is gonna be like, oh wow, Fallon, you shouldn't have treated Ren like that. Ren, are you okay? And then Fallon's gonna be like, yo, what? You used to run with us, screw you. And then Briggs is like, listen, when I told you to toughen up and stop being a crybaby, this isn't what I meant. And just be a whole thing. Like, why can't people just be friends? Why does everything like they just make it seem like, guys, friendship only works when there's a clearly established hierarchy where somebody knows that they're friends with their better and they don't challenge their better and they're content with their play. That is so messed up. No, no. The New Day was so beautiful because it's like, oh, Kofi deserves more, but they gave that same energy to E. And I guarantee if they put the time into Woods as characters and probably as people, Kofi and Biggie would be like, yeah, Woods, go get yours. But no, now I'm
Mm-hmm.
supposed to believe with Mello, Trick, you forgot your place. Jesus Christ. What? Oh, Trick, you were supposed to go after the North America title, the NXT title. That was for me. But you just thought you could be Mellow. And it's like, dude, I distinctly remember when Braun Breaker was beating the shit out of Trick and you were a babyface. You were offended for Trick and wanted to defend his honor. And now all of a sudden, when he's like, yo, Mellow, I can defend myself and I'm going to be a top guy now for both of us, you're just like, oh, hold up. No. Like, what? No, we know. No, I'm just saying, as me, I guess this is like my little Johnism of the week. We need to bring friendship back to professional wrestling. And it's going to start with Foster and I's tag team because we established in the Discord he doesn't trust being in a faction with most of the TWitWoW community, which I get. I totally understand. But I asked him tentatively, will you still be in a tag team with me, though? And he said, quote, ellipses, I'll allow it. To which I replied, fuck yes. We're going to make cinnamon rolls every weekend. I will never hurt you, and we're gonna cosplay as Tyler Breeze and Kona Reeves. It's
Holy
it's it's gonna
shit.
be it's gonna be amazing, dude. We're gonna bring friendship back to pro wrestling, and I've already decided because I just feel like I'm already kind of smothering Abel with my love as it is. He should be in a tag team with you because you're far emotionally healthier, and you guys will dominate. We are bringing friendship back to professional wrestling. It has to happen. And Foster also bringing up an interesting point where he says the Wolf Dogs have a better friendship than Trick Mello. Wolf Dogs is also an interesting thing because they had their celebration this week, for the trophy. And Baron was kind of poking fun at Braun a little bit. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, that's a lot of talk coming from somebody so bald. But let's just hear Braun out. And Braun, I love the smile on his face. I think Braun, since losing the NXT title, he feels more relaxed. He feels like he doesn't feel that pressure of like, oh, I gotta be, main event Braun. I feel like this is some of his best stuff because he really does feel like he's back in his football days, kind of training stuff like that. He's got that jock energy, but not in a toxic way.
Right.
And they're talking. I'm warming up to it. I just worry that Baron's gonna be a little shit about it because it's Baron being a little shit. Like that's his brand. Like
True.
his stomach may smile on the outside, but he's grimacing on the inside.
And
That's
he
Baron
does
Corbin.
look like Grimace.
Does he
He's
really
bald and
does?
everything.
But then they're watching Inoue and Blade have a tag match with Axiom and Frazier, which got a decent bit of time. And unfortunately, Inoue and Blade lost. Now, somebody actually
Axiom and
did.
Frazier annoy the shit out of me.
Dude, they're so fucking mid.
They're so
Um,
annoying. They're so like
yeah,
spastic.
yeah, like God, I don't know. But somebody pointed out because I forget who it was that wasn't really committing to Brinley's like list your positives and list your negatives, guys. Which, by the way, Kiana James and Izzy Dame pouring her coffee into the trash. I was like, oh no, Brinley, like you gotta backhand them now. Like you can't tolerate this. Um, but, some people are saying that because I think it was Enofe didn't really commit. I think only Malik made a list that it's only when Enofe commits that it's going to work out for them. Now, I'm glad these guys are getting pushed. They had a great match with Axiom and Frazier again. They got time. I just really, it's like we said last week, and it just bears repeating because it is Black History Month and we're already talking about, systemic racism seemingly in pro wrestling. Do not make this a white woman savior story. If this woman is the reason these guys were able to work when they were already talented athletes and already had a great sense of chemistry, I'm not going to like retch about it because it's a very low stakes storyline.
Can I
But
retch
like,
about it?
sure,
Blech.
sure, there you go. And I was going to say like, seriously, just seriously, okay. So I guess you do you NXT. But then the Wolf Dogs beat the crap out of Axiom Frazier. They called out the family. They're going to get their tag title shot next week. And then I want the Wolf Dogs to go celebrate at Olive Garden just to shove it in the family's face. Like, we don't care how Italian you think you are. This
God.
is Italian enough for us. And that I think I would pop.
And
I
then
don't know.
D'Angelo gets all offended, and then Corbin, and then no, and then Braun, because I feel like he's more likely to say this, would say, "Don't yuck my yum."
he, he would say it. He would say it. He would. Then, then let's see what else I really thought about. Well, I mean, again, you really played up the trick stuff. We already talked though about Ilya and Dijak. No need to really go through any of that. Roxanne, I felt like continued to do great work. She's kind of in this tweener space right now. She beat Lola Vice, solid enough matchup, but Tatum Paxley
Oh.
came out trying to cash in the contract that Lola already used.
Was she
And
trying to cash in? I really wasn't sure what was going on here. This was very confusing to me.
yeah, dude, she was because she came out with the contract in hand. She's like, I want to cash this in. I want to get, and then Lola like roundhouse kicked her, and
Oh.
then pop rocks, and then that was that.
I'm
Um,
happy that Roxanne at least was able to compose herself enough to get the dub.
I'm, you know what, man? I'll be honest because you know that I've been far more attentive to NXT. I've actually kept my NXT promise better than my TNA or AEW promise,
Yeah.
mainly because NXT gives me a reason to keep coming back. To be fair to myself and my sensibilities, um, she's growing on me, man. She is. I didn't really care that she won the battle royal leading up to Vengeance Day, but the work she's done between like then and currently, I'm like, man, I really hope she just gets her proper one-on-one match at Stand and Deliver, and her and Lyra just tear the freaking house down. But I will say, whatever happens in the aftermath of that match, we need to start looking forward in the women's division, which brings me to just what I want to talk about very quickly. Not even the match, but just the person. Lash Legend, I want to see in a title program. Like her and Jakara Jackson are cool as a tag team. I like Jakara. I've got no problem with her. But Lash, dude, has got it. Like, I
Oh
want
yeah.
to see her in that main event spot because I'll tell you, she power bombed Ren Sinclair to win this thing. I want to see her do that power bomb through a table after a contract signing for her NXT Women's Championship match. Like, if she just manhandled like fucking Lyra or Roxanne like that, I'd pop. But yeah, this is an easy freaking win for them. This was a squash match that they weren't afraid to have, CAEW, because Fallon and Ren don't need to look strong right now because it wouldn't make sense for the story that they're seemingly going to tell, that being Fallon going off on Ren, and Ren, maybe they're trying to make her like a Bailey Light. I don't know, because she kind of gives me those vibes because she's like thumbing up Fallon, and she just seems really happy to be here and like so grateful. It just seems like that naivete that old Bailey used to have. So
Yeah.
not necessarily Bailey in terms of like personality, but Bailey in terms of the naivete that she's going to very quickly shed, courtesy of one swooping from a woman that wants to be the top shelf of NXT. But yeah, Lash is awesome. Metaphor is awesome. I know you've loved them for a long time. They're starting to grow on me too, mainly
I'm
because I'm
so
actively
glad
paying
that you're
attention.
getting into them. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Dude, what I love about them is it's so easy to think like Noam Dar is like self-absorbed and the other members don't get to eat, but that's clearly not the case. Like Menza probably eats the least,
Yeah.
but Lash and Jakara are taking care of business. I don't know what you're talking. Like if they're all looking at Aura, like we're kind of doing our thing. Maybe suck less, um, because they are great. And again, especially Lash. I'm ready for her to do something bigger. I'm ready for her to do something more in her pay grade. Um, so, yeah, I don't know. I really like this team. I really like what's going on. I already kind of shared my thoughts about the whole Fallon Briggs Jensen storyline. So I'm going to talk about the, Briggs Jensen segment that he had where Briggs was kind of toxic friendship. That's not even a real friendship. He just pretty much bullied him and kind of harassed him. It was like, hey, suck it up, Buttercup. Which
Yeah. That
that's great.
sucked.
Because when my friends are depressed, I love telling them, "Hey, it's not really happening. Get the fuck over yourself and just stop bothering me. You're being really burdensome with your feelings right now, even though you feel like you're drowning." That's no, that's totally healthy. Relationships always work that way, trust me. Um,
Mm.
so yeah. And Foster bringing up that, he loves metaphor, but he's gonna need Vaughn and Stone to win the tag match. That's another thing that's been, I would say, well built enough given its place on the card because we know Von Wagner is pursuing Noam Dar. And now they're like, oh, we should challenge him to a tag match. And Stone originally was trying to like push it off, like, no, I'm a manager, I'm not a competitor anymore. But then his kids are like, wrestle, 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 and like, finally acquiesces. And I think it's made Stone more endearing. I thought Stone would have turned on Von Wagner forever ago. I'm happy they've stayed together, and I'm happy that Stone isn't a dick because I actually do like cheering for him. Um, so
I
that's
almost have
been
to
cool.
wonder if Wagner intimidates Stone, and then maybe Stone is avoiding leaving him for fear of getting an ass whooping. And maybe once Stone finds a bigger, more intimidating client, that'll be when he betrays Vaughn.
Yeah. Um, that's essentially like all the really important stuff from NXT. Because again, we had a big, broad discussion about Mellow, Trick, and Dragunov and Dijak, and that like took up most of the show. And really, that just leaves Raw and SmackDown. And I mean, man,
I'll tell you
really,
right
what
now,
is?
by the way, I did like have Raw on my TV, but I did not pay much attention to it. I paid much more attention to SmackDown.
I mean, dude, not they actually lost the quote unquote finals because the Bruiserweights beat DIY, so they're going to be going to Chamber.
Is
Um,
Bate and Dunn's official tag team name the Bruiserweights? Because I haven't heard that yet.
I haven't heard it either. That's why I'm saying like it is done in bait. I'm just saying Bruiserweights for kind of like shorthand for people in case they're just kind of used to them being the Bruiserweights. But yeah, they did beat DIY, so they're going there. Again, a lot of Raw was focused on, well, Cody, if you're not picking Roman, which again, like you said, it was rendered obsolete because he did pick Roman on Thursday. Again, Drew continues to be the best thing in this company. Just being like, with the t-shirt, the CM Punk t-shirt, and just the
You
I'm
mean
the
the
good guy here.
DM Hunk T-shirt?
Dude, I love that nickname too. Like, I think we've seen this happen before, but I think it's been a while since we've seen a person potentially leave the company right when they're really starting to cook and do their best work. And
Yeah,
that's such a shame to me because I haven't heard that Drew has put pen to paper yet on a new contract. So, like, if this is the work you go out on one hand, like,
based.
I I wanted you to do so much more, but on the other hand, exactly, based. Like, what a way to go out, dude. And you injured CM Punk for us so that you'd rob him of his WrestleMania dream. Holy fucking shit.
What a fucking
Um,
Chad.
Yeah, Becky qualified for the Chamber. We also know Bianca qualified on Friday. Already talked about Rhea confronting Nia. Ivar and Valhalla beat Tozawa and Dupree. Ivar's probably going to make it in the Chamber, I would imagine, because I think he's facing LA Knight next Monday. And I could see AJ costing LA Knight that match because AJ got cost his chamber qualifying match by LA on Friday. Drew McIntyre beating AJ there, and also on SmackDown, Orton beat Sammy. No idea what they do with Sammy now because Sammy has got a very interesting path because he had that promo on Monday where it's like, well, what did Triple H tell you after you lost to Drew the week prior? And he said, keep your head up, everything else. You've been here a long time. You know how it goes. And Sammy said, like, I do want a WrestleMania moment. Like, I do want to be the world champion and stuff like that. Well, now this is his best shot, and Orton just beat him in like under 10 minutes. Like, it's not, I don't know. I love Sammy. I want it for
I'm
Sammy.
assuming that both chamber matches are going to have some kind of last chance challenge kind of thing.
I'm hoping you're right, man. Um, I will say one great segment from Raw, although in hindsight, I have to like vet a little bit of frustration like I did in the Discord with the Chamber qualifiers. Going through 600-day Intercontinental title celebration, that this was really good. I thought Gunther was amazing on the mic, especially when Jay interrupted.
Dude, Gunther was
Yeah,
fucking savage.
dude, he might be low key underrated as a talker because I never really took note of his talking up
Yeah,
until like this promo, and it's like
I
I think
agree.
he's had a few good lines before that too, to be fair. But like, yeah, this is another great standout moment for him. This is why I'm confident in him being the world heavyweight champion. Um, and
It is kind
yeah,
of wild though how this dude showed up. Like if you don't keep up with the NXT products, this dude showed up out of fucking nowhere and just dominated from day one. And like he's keeping up with everyone, both in the ring and on the mic, despite English not even being his first language.
yeah, Americans do better. What the fuck?
It's just unbelievable how talented he is, honestly.
I mean, bro, I will say though, in kayfabe, this is where you run into problems too, because I don't want to just seem like I'm lavishing praise on WWE just to make AEW some kind of whipping post. I feel bad for Jay as a character because he's vying for the Intercontinental title, which you could argue is incredibly prestigious. I would. Gunther's done an amazing job.
I think the Intercontinental title is on the same level at this point as the World Heavyweight title. I think those two championships have very similar value, personally.
Then I guess you're not as bothered the fact that Jay wasn't even considered for a qualifier, but Bronson Reed was, despite the fact that Jay beat Bronson like 2 weeks
No,
ago.
that's
Because
still
that was my problem.
frustrating. I think that's definitely
Yeah.
still frustrating. I don't get excluded from that opportunity.
Yeah, certainly not. Especially because he actually has faced Rollins in a title defense before, so it's not like he's never even brushed shoulders with the world champion. He has.
I didn't even remember
Um,
that. Good shout.
yeah, but I'm only saying that though because both Sammy and Drew they got qualifiers and they both challenged Seth at different points in his title reign. I mean, Drew twice for God's sakes. So Jay should
I mean,
absolutely
yeah,
have
but
been in that
everyone knows Drew
conversation.
should have won those.
I mean, obviously
He
it's DM Punk,
haven't
bro.
won. It's just you know.
Yeah, I love that you did that. That's so me, but done even better because it was you. All right.
Oh, thanks,
Um,
bud. You're the goat.
but no, like, but no, it's funny that you say that though, because I know both you and I are just loving Drew's work, right? It's so funny because I've been saying for so long, Sammy's such a great babyface. Sammy's such a great babyface. He deserves a moment, and he does. But then Drew just came out of nowhere, and he's like, "But John, come on, you're an asshole. Deep down, you're a piece of shit, and you know that I'm doing amazing work, and you want to see people cry and surrender Cobra when I pin Sami Zayn in Philadelphia for the world title." I do. I do, Drew. That's right. Just let me take care of everything. Don't think of Sammy and he deserves his flowers, but if Drew just ruins everyone's life, am I really going to care? No. So, yeah, I mean, between that and SmackDown, I think we talked about all the important points. Oh, I guess the only other thing we could talk a little bit about, and I'd like to get more of your in-depth opinions on this because and we heard about other qualifiers. For example, Dominic Mysterio is facing Kevin Owens next Friday. Logan Paul's facing The Miz. Okay. And all that stuff. The only really big thing to talk about, of course, and again, I want your opinion on this because I know you're a big fan of all these women, and I already kind of gave my 2 cents in a way, and we can circle back to that. Dakota, Bailey, Damage Control. What did you think about this segment on Friday, man? Because I think this
Oh,
storyline is doing so well right now and deserves to main event night one of Mania.
yeah, I
100%.
definitely agree with you on that. I loved this segment so much. Dakota, man, people are starting to recognize how talented she is. She had a great performance here. She did a great job. Her acting was on point. She really sold the innocence, even though I think a lot of us are just aware, kind of intrinsically, that it's fake innocence.
Yes.
Yeah, but this was great. Bailey, obviously, also an amazing actor. She did a really good job of selling her sort of, I don't want to say confusion, but like her indecisiveness as far as whether she was willing to give Dakota another chance or not. I love the writing here because they really did a good job of not insulting the intelligence of their audience by having Bailey just
Yes.
immediately be just not confrontational but like sus of Dakota. I hate to even use that word. There's got to be a better word to use there, but she was just immediately put off by Dakota, immediately like
Doubtful, maybe?
that's not word. I'm blanking here, but you get the idea. She didn't trust Dakota right off the bat. Immediately kept her at an arm's length, and it took a lot of explaining and apologizing by Dakota to get Bailey to even allow her to enter the ring properly. And then when the Joshis show up and surround the ring, she never hit any of the Joshis. She swung at all three of them, but all she actually connected with was the top rope on each side of the ring. So
Yeah.
again, we have this thing where she's pretending to be aggro towards the Joshis without ever actually causing any damage to any of them.
The only other word that I could think of with what we're trying to say is like Bailey was very weary of Dakota and her like intentions.
That's a good word. That's
Um,
a good one.
just thinking like, why are you and dude, I'm so glad you mentioned like not insulting the audience's intelligence because it shows how much like Bailey even said it last week. And if she said it, her character has to commit to it because we're committing to this idea. I've been in WWE forever, from NXT on up. I have seen everything, which would imply that her aptitude and her sense for people and her ability to read people is considerably high just from trial and error and just living life like we all hope to attain at a certain point in our lives. So the idea that that actually comes to the fore and she immediately, doesn't like excessively interrogate Dakota, but just make very valid points and ask very pointed questions like every time that I would see him like laughing or talking, like you were right there and you were pulling me aside to explain it away, like what's going on. So I like that Bailey isn't being an amnesiac, for the benefit of the story. Like she
Yep.
doesn't have this memory loss for the benefit of the story. I'm so grateful for that because again, Bailey is so over right now. I think this is just everything that everybody's been suppressing for years because they've wanted to give her this love and they've wanted to give her these flowers and they've wanted to give her everything and they just haven't been able to. And now they're able to, and it's great. And Bailey's like receiving it, and she's not fighting it, and it's great and she's an intelligent baby face, which is great because the sympathy doesn't have to come with golly gee guys, I just don't know any better and I just want to love everybody. No, like this is a baby face where it's like
I'm
I've
awfully
made my
sorry.
mistakes. Yeah, exactly. I've made my mistakes. Maybe I even had this coming, but I believed in them. I loved this and everything I did, even when it wasn't quote
I
unquote
even
good.
loved the moment
Came from a good place.
on the show where Bailey was like, "Are we cool?" Like asking the crowd, "Are we cool?" And they cheered her. It
Yeah.
was so beautiful. I loved that
Yeah.
so much.
Because she's so wholesome, but see, Bailey proves that you can be wholesome without being naive. You can be
Yeah.
wholesome without being gullible. I like that. I really like that. So this was a really solid week in the world of wrestling. I mean, look, AEW exists, but and WWE has got a dumpster fire that they need to be more accountable for and not try and do smoke screens. But as far as like the actual product and focusing on the actual product, which this podcast and this series is meant to do, um, man, this is one of the best weeks WWE has had. I would even say in years because the pacing, the energy, everything was just right up there. So yeah, that about caps it off. Before we go into any of our other formal segments, though, just because we've been more conversational this episode, did you want to talk about Rossi at all or anything, or you're just like, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole? Do you want to
Yeah,
just
I
keep
mean, if you want
going?
to talk about it, we can talk about it. We can kind of rip the band aid off. So, basically, to explain to those of you who don't follow Stardom, who don't follow Stardom news, who don't care about it at all, Rossi, aka Hiroshi Ogawa, is the creator of the Stardom promotion. He literally is one of the founders, and I say one of because there were multiple. It was him, a woman named Fuka, who was also one of the original, well, not one of, she was the original trainer. She was the woman who trained Stardom's original crop of wrestlers, and actually the first few crops of wrestlers that Stardom put out. And then Nanae Takahashi was one of the founders. As much as we hate her even to this day, she did help to found Stardom, so we do have to give her even a smidge of credit for that, at least.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there were more, but those are the big three that always get mentioned: Rossi, Fuka, Nanae. And Nanae left the company when the big incident happened. Basically, there was a horrible match where a big woman shoot destroyed a less capable of fighting woman because the less capable woman, I guess, started shooting first, and the bigger woman decided, no, you're not going to do that. Fuck you. I'm going to ruin your fucking life. And she did. And Nane left with her, and I guess Fuka left at some point in the 2010s to be a mom. And so it was just Rossi. He's the only one who was left from the original set of founders. And at the end of 2019, Rossi sold the company officially to Bushiroad, which is the company that also owns New Japan, which is why we've seen Stardom Women at Wrestle Kingdom and why we have an IWGP Women's Championship now. But Rossi sold the company under the impression that Bushiroad would basically be silent funder. Like, they would literally just give Stardom funding to improve the product, pay the women more, etc. Let Rossi run the company the way that he had been running for damn near a decade at that point, because the company started at the beginning of 2011, and reap whatever percentage of the profits that they could. But they meddled hard, and that pissed Rossi off. So Rossi told them in 2023, hey man, when my contract runs out in March, I'm leaving and I'm starting a new company. And they were fine with that. He's a self-made millionaire.
Yeah.
Um, and the millionaire is because of the sale of the fucking company. Like, he sold the company to them. They let him keep a stake in the company and some of his booking powers. And because he sold the company, obviously, when you sell something, you get money for selling it. He got millions of dollars for selling the company to Bushiroad. He's going to now use that money and turn around and go make another company with it. So,
Which actually, no, I don't want to cut you off prematurely. Is there
well, no,
anything else you want to
I
say?
was just going to finish the story, and I was just going to say it's something that Cody's not going to do, and say, and
Yes.
say that, yeah. So Rossi told them that, and apparently at a recent pay-per-view, they found out that he had been recruiting slash poaching, depending on how you want to look at it, women who are already on the Stardom roster behind their backs, and that there are going to be a bunch of women who are going to follow him to the new company that he makes when their contracts are up. And when they found out about that, and when I say they in this case, I'm talking about the execs at Bushiroad, when they found out about that, they fired him on the spot.
Mm. So you know what, man? Contrary to most conversations, which have been about what's going to happen to Stardom, were they right to do this, blah blah blah. I'd actually like to get a different point of departure, given that that was a really nice recap you did, even for myself,
Yeah, I
and
wasn't
talk
even
about
sure if you knew about all that info.
not all of it. I'd like to depart from a different vantage point, if we may, and I'd rather talk about what this means for the broader Joshi scene because you still have Stardom. Stardom is still a thing. It's just now fully, Bushiroad, and there's going to be some restructuring internally. Whether that's good or bad, give it a few months and we'll see where we're at. You have Sukeban in the U.S. trying to bring Joshi to America, importing that there. You have TJPW. Now, I don't know if Rossi's going to plant roots in America or if he still wants to compete in Japan, but
He's
let's
staying in
talk.
Japan for sure.
He's staying in. That's what I figured. But let's talk about it though, man, because you and I think of all the wrestling that's out there, you and I think are most enthused about Joshi at present. How do I want to phrase this to you to really get this conversation started? How do you feel like the company will go? Do you think it could have a big impact on the Joshi scene? And just are you excited about the thought of just Rossi having full creative control of his own company?
Yeah, I think it's going to have a huge impact on the Joshi scene, and I think kind of depends, honestly, as far as how you view the impact, whether you see it as a positive or a negative. So I think immediately it will be positive for whoever gets signed, negative for everybody else.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's basically going to be a raid on Joshi talent by both Rossi for his company and then Stardom to replace the women who leave.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's
Yeah.
going to be a mass exodus from Stardom, all Japan style in the 90s. Or I think was it the 90s or the 2000s that they left for Noah? I think it was the 90s, right?
I thought it was the 90s, yeah.
So it's going to be like that, where there's going to be a group of women who are going to leave. Might even be at the same time in March, because I think a lot of contracts end in March. And there's going to be a big group of women going to, and we're talking, when I say big, I'm talking like 10 plus,
Yeah. Yeah.
who are going to leave in March, and they're going to go to Rossi's company. And that includes very likely Julia now. I'm hearing that she's probably going to wherever Rossi goes rather than to WWE now.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so there's going to be this mass exodus that happens, but Rossi's not going to be able to fill out an entire women's roster with just the women he takes from Stardom. So he's going to have to poach more talent from other companies, or at the very least, freelance talent is going to have to work his shows, right? But then there's going to be a void that Stardom's going to have to fill, and they don't have enough rookies to fill that void, so they are going to have to poach talent, or again, use freelancers or whatever. So there are probably going to be however many women who leave Stardom to go to Rossi's company. That's how many women, or at least close to that many, Stardom is going to have to bring in to replace them. Plus, however many women Rossi has to bring in to fill out his roster on top of whoever comes with him from Stardom. And depending on the caliber of Joshi, that leaves whatever company they were working for before to go work for either New Stardom or Rossidom, as we've been affectionately referring to it. We could see some companies go under.
Yeah, I mean, so you're thinking, just to kind of encapsulate it succinctly, you're thinking that this is gonna have a seismic effect
Yeah,
on the Joshi scene, like Rossi
it
doing all
almost
this.
has to. Because, I mean, think about it this way, bro. Just for example,
Yeah.
let's say we know that Rossi has really, really been fond of marvelous women, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Let's say he goes into business with Marvelous. He gets into some kind of a contractual deal with Chigusa Nagayo herself that allows him to use Marvelous talent on his shows. So we've got Takumi, we've got Mio, but now we've also got Rossi having to bring in other women from other companies. So let's just say, for example, Ano goes with him. Let's say Saori Ano, once she drops the white belt, she goes to Rossidom. And so now Oz Academy is down a top star. Let's say he signs Maya Yukihi. Another loss for Oz Academy. Let's
Yeah.
say he really likes Miyuki Takase. But let's say Sukeban finds out about this and they sign her to an exclusive deal. All of a sudden, she can't work Oz Academy anymore either. Do you see what I'm getting
Yeah.
at?
Yeah.
There's
So it's
going to
gonna be
be
like,
basically like a huge rush for Joshi talent in March and in the months leading up, or the months following March, that's going to strip the Joshi scene of talent. I'm hoping it doesn't put any companies out of business, because I will say Joshi Wrestling is also really, really good at training new talents to come in and fill roles, but it's going to be a lot at once. And you just never know. So there's a very strong possibility that we might see some companies go under within the next couple years, because it's not going to be instant. It's not going to be like, oh, we lost our top star, we have to fold. It's going to be like, oh man, we
yeah.
lost our top star, we're going to try. And then gates are down, and then we can't, we're in the red, and then we can't afford to pay people, and then we have to fold. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because bro, I mean, you and I again, I say now, I think for the third time, just our collective viewing experience. You and I have been watching wrestling for decades between the two of us, and you and I see how this goes. Because first it begins with losing some talent, then the get, like you said, the gate goes down, then they panic and they make creative changes, which further dilutes the product, and then you notice it's not the product you fell in love with, and then it either folds or your personal relationship with it folds. And that's really what I've never wanted to see happen with Stardom, but now there's a really good chance of it happening. For us, he's going to be an active antagonist for the foreseeable future. I'm not a doomer on that
And
front. That's
I
clearly
also think this could be really good for us as fans, because I even think that Rossidom will be good too. So I'm thinking that this will be a net positive for us on a very selfish level, because
yes,
I'm thinking we could go from one great Joshi company that we consistently follow and cover to two.
yeah,
and that
Yeah.
excites me a lot. But if we're talking more holistically and looking at the Joshi scene as a whole, it could have very negative ramifications for some companies. It could have negative ramifications for every company. Or, on the other hand, it could bring upon us a new Joshi renaissance. It could be huge. It could be, we get new Stardom competing against Rossydom. They're competing with each other for tickets. They're competing against each other for merch sales. They're competing against each other for talent. And all of a sudden, everyone's prices go up as far as the talent as when what they are allowed to charge for appearances goes up, and gates start going up and more people become interested. It could be a renaissance for Joshi wrestling, and that would be incredible. I would love that. We could literally be looking at like early 90s All Japan 2.0 era in front of us and we wouldn't even know it. But I think it's too early to tell. Let me just put it that way. It's too
Yeah.
early to tell. But
I
I think that there's a wide range of outcomes, all the way ranging from the fall of the independent Joshi scene as we know it to a renaissance of Joshi. And that's a huge band, a huge spectrum that it could be. And I think it's more likely to fall to one extreme or the other rather than somewhere in the middle is my thing. I don't think things are gonna just kind of continue as they are. I really don't expect, you know, business as usual or like the status quo for the next few years. I think that we're going to get a drastic change in one direction or the other. I just hope that it's the renaissance rather than the downfall.
Oh, no, I mean, look, I will say I really don't have much to add to this discussion because I think you hit on every point. You hit on it expertly and succinctly. There's not really much for me personally to add outside of my feelings. Um, and that being
Which matter.
said, well, I appreciate that.
I
But
appreciate
that being
you.
said, Oh, but no, that being said, in all sincerity, like I think you make excellent points. The status quo absolutely has been upended. Just to kind of affirm your
Yeah.
point and back you up on that, you don't go back to normal after this. I would say the same thing for TNA. I think them firing Scott Demore is huge. Again, especially after you had the guy a few weeks ago cut a really emotional promo about TNA and really be passionate about bringing it back. WWE is kind of going through their own thing, but I mean, the only difference they have is they have a lot of media coverage on WrestleMania and on the smokescreens they've provided. But this whole Vince thing, we don't know what's going to come out because to me, dude, about that, when I think about the names that haven't been said, and I've been really giving the side eye to Triple H, this is just the tip of the iceberg to me. Depending on how deep it goes,
Yeah.
either they now here's the thing, because there are powerful people at play, they could handle this quietly out of court, and it doesn't really become a big thing. But if it gets louder, that means more names are going to be pulled in. More names that get pulled in, it's more of a problem for TKO. Um, so just as far as an industry goes, pro wrestling is in a very interesting time because there are a lot of spasms happening in the industry across promotions. And I can't remember the last time that I've seen anything like this. I think the only cherry on top would be if Tony Khan got outed from his own company, and it's like, oh, Tony, it's not working.
Dude, it
We're
needs
gonna
to
get
happen.
somebody new
It's
for
so bad.
yeah. But yeah, that would be the only thing that would really complete it. But I guess just as far as just the only thing I will say, because again, I don't want to get too into my feelings. I know you back me up and I appreciate that. But again, you already said everything so brilliantly. I'm not gonna dilute a perfect sermon here. But the only thing I will say about Rossydom is I do wonder what'll have learned from people's misgivings about Stardom. Like, for example, what is the Rossydom service gonna look like? How accessible
Are
is
they
it?
going to
What are the
have
payment
one?
options?
That's, yeah, because like
Yeah.
he obviously was the one that decided to make the product accessible to the West in the first place,
Yes, exactly.
because Stardom World was a thing long before Bushi Road ever showed interest in Joshi at all.
Yes.
So I definitely think that there's going to be something. I am definitely along with you as far as just wondering what it's going to look like. If it's going to be similar to Stardom World, dude, wouldn't it be funny if he just hired the same person to design a website that he hired to design Stardom World, and it just was the exact same fucking thing, but like maybe different colors or something like.
Yeah. And it's like, but
Uh,
but I wanted you to modernize it. And it's like, yeah, and I want to keep money, so suck it up. It's like, okay.
it was modern
Um
enough when I made it. What are you talking about?
yeah. I'm not challenging this. What are you doing? I'll never get over that line ever. But no,
What's wrong with you?
exactly. That's like asking to get over perfection. And I'm sorry. Why isn't Abel in the chat actually speaking of perfection? But regardless, love you, Abel. Um, I really do wonder what Rossi because I think the healthiest people never stop learning. I don't care how old Rossi is. I don't care how much money he's made. If you really want to be better than yourself and if you're really competing with yourself, you're always going to learn something from every new endeavor. So I wonder from running Stardom this long, what he's learned, whether it's about managing talent, the infrastructure, whatever, and what he would bring to Rossidom that would be the same as Stardom, but also different, but in a better way, obviously. So yeah, there is a lot of curiosity there for me. And as far as the Joshi scene, I mean, look, you already know, dude. I love Stardom. Sukeban is cool, but I'm looking for them to take it that next level. And I want to like TJPW so badly, but they are their own worst enemy to me. I am
Well,
looking
I'm
forward to the
glad you
show
brought up
next month.
TJPW because Super Blue in chat actually asked if Ice Ribbon and TJPW are doomed, and I don't think TJPW is doomed. I think TJPW is the one major Joshi company that's going to be just fucking fine because TJPW has the backing of Cyberfight.
Yes.
So, like the same way that Stardom has the backing of Bushi Road, TJPW has the backing of Cyberfight. Now, Ice Ribbon is a completely different story. Ice Ribbon damn near went under already, so they might be on the brink. This could be their nail in the coffin. I hope it's not, because I think that a Joshi industry with Ice Ribbon in it is better for having them in it. But man, I mean, there was that. You remember the mass exodus? Literally, Prominence is just an Ice Ribbon exodus.
Bro, not to be that guy, but I'm looking at Ice Ribbon. I'm just thinking about Rossi being that guy in that one meme that's like hiding behind the tree, like rubbing his hands together, like, oh yeah, time to strike. And that's Rossi with Ice Ribbon now that he's starting his own company. Well, how do we jumpstart this? Where's the juice? Oh, there you are, Ice Ribbon. I'll take your top three talons to start. No, we can't. We'll die. Well, guess that's a you problem. Yeah, man. I don't feel good for them at all. I feel like the end might be near for them. But that kind of
God,
plays into what you were talking about earlier.
it's one of those things too where I'm so excited for Rossi's new company, but you just know my Sakurai is going to go with him. He
Ew.
loves her.
Dude, if he makes her the inaugural world champion, we just got to nope out of the promotion
He
altogether.
won't.
I'm like,
He doesn't see her as a world champion. He sees her as like Attitude Era Godfather. Like
okay.
she's an entertaining act that needs to be on every show because she's a fun undercard act that the crowd pops for.
Okay, so here's the thing. I will be mature enough and big enough to say, you're right. Counterpoint though. The problem is that he sees her at all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. That's the problem is that she's perceived at all.
Like, you're perceiving her. Don't do that. Don't. Now, okay, you know what, dude? Let's play. Actually, no, I don't want to make a whole game of it because I feel like this conversation was so perfect. I don't want to ruin it by
What was
like
it
staying
going
too
to
long.
be?
I was gonna ask you, like, kind of going through some of the names in Stardom, and if you were thinking like leave or
Ah.
whatever. But haven't they already locked a lot of people down though? That's kind of the thing,
No.
isn't it?
No. Mayu is the main one that's locked down. She's the main one that wants to go with Rossi but can't because of the contract.
Me feel bad for her. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, she gave everything. Like, let her go.
And the reason she's locked down is because of her fucking movie.
God damn it.
She's literally locked down by contract because she has a movie.
So she's a victim of her own success.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty
That,
much.
that. It's
It's
kind of a mind
awful.
fuck, bro.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie to you. Yeah, like, um, okay, well then, if they're not locked down, then I don't want to again waste too much time. We already know that Tam apparently has said that she's gonna stick with Stardom because, of
Because of
course, she
course,
is.
because Bushiroad's the one that put the world title on her.
um,
What did you just do?
I did a me thing, but like really like Tamantha, like it's a great day to be me,
Nice.
because God, she's Tam. Fuck. Kamitani's got to be Stan, right? Because like I think she's ready to be the top
I
girl.
don't know, man. I think I'm unsure about all three or all QQ members. I'm unsure about. I think QQ and Oedo Tai and God's Eye are all liable to up and leave.
Well, bro, it's fun. So let me just give you my thoughts, right? I thought Saya would stay. I actually thought Utami might leave. I
Do
had a
you not
feeling
think that
Utami
Saya
might
would
go.
just follow Utami though?
I don't know how close they are IRL. I mean, if unless they're really good actresses, which it's possible.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously they seem super close, but like why I was more skeptical of Saya is it does seem like Bushiroad wants to make her like a top woman, like
but
ace of their
so did
company,
Rossi though.
and so did But so the question
Her
is
white
then,
belt
Saya,
run was under him,
oh fuck. Mm,
and then she
I
got
think
injured because of Bushiroad's schedule.
oh, okay, let's shift gears to more of the youth. Hanan, Kid, Azumi. What do
Dude,
they do?
I don't know about Azumi. Azumi might stick it out for the money because she is very young and she doesn't sell portraits like Kid
Yeah.
does. But Hanan and Kid are fucking gone. I mean, Hanan might stay with Mayu until Mayu's contract runs out, but as soon as her contract's out, Hanan's following her.
Wait, no, we're gonna put the title on you. I'm going with Mayu. We're gonna have a slumber party about this later, and we're both gonna be world champions. Let's go, Mayu. Yeah. You know what's crazy,
Because you
dude?
gotta remember, dude, this is the thing that I feel like people are forgetting. And the wild thing is, I've heard that like the three most likely women to leave are Julia, Shuri, and Kashima, and only two of them actually trained under Rossi's stardom because Julia came from Ice Ribbon and Shuri was like a shoot fighting badass in like UWF and shit. They were both basically outsiders. It's just weird.
You know what though, bro? If Shuri's like a part of that pack, that just goes to what Julia said when she kind of vented her feelings and said Rossi was so much better about listening to the women. And you know, Shuri under Rossi like had that whole thing with her mom, and then went
Yeah.
in the time like she
I will
probably
say,
will.
I think
Yeah.
Mirai will stay.
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel like Mirai because I
I
mean they put
think
the Wonder title on
Mirai
her.
stays.
Yeah.
I think Sakurai stays. I think Tamantha's obviously already staying. We know that. Natsupoi will probably stick with Tamantha.
Can I actually, speaking of Tamantha and Mayu, can I just make a quick point before I forget it?
Yeah.
This is also really interesting to me because it wasn't that long ago that we heard murmurs that both Tam and Mayu were like eyeing retirement. How long do you think Mayu's just going to extend her career now just to really help Rossi out and get his company off the ground?
Dude, what if Mayu retires to get out of her contract and then goes to Rossi Dub?
And then gives at least like what, 3 to 5 years maybe, and then is like, okay,
I think 5 is a lot. I think 3 is more realistic. I would say 2 or 3, honestly.
I'll still
Maybe
keep
like
it
a
three to
year-long
five.
title reign.
Yeah.
Maybe like a half a year to reestablish herself, a year-long title reign, and then another half a year to just put random people over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm only gonna challenge you a little bit because I can see where you're coming from, but I also feel like when you're a performer like Mayu, you can always just renegotiate like her contract term or whatever. Like, hey, I worked this many dates this time. If we want to get me to this point, how about I just work this many dates? And I could
Yeah.
see them like constantly negotiating and stuff. I could see Mayu just out of loyalty to Rossi wanting to give five. Tam with Bushiroad though, that's a more interesting thing because she already had this injury. Allegedly, we don't even know how bad it was. There's a lot going on about Tam.
Yeah.
She just got a taste of being the top woman. Well, when
Yeah.
you finally get a taste of being at the top, that even makes me wonder, bro.
She's gonna have a
Because,
year and a half long world title reign.
because, bro, here's the thing too. It does make you and I mean, I'm saying the general you, not you specifically, but it does make you kind of recolor in my mind when they said that they were thinking about retirement because it's like, why? With Mayu, I got it because it's like, okay, I've done everything. There's not much to do. And it was still Rossi's company. So it's like, I've given him everything. He knows that. Now I feel like a fire's been lit on her. For Tam, she was a bit older, sure. So I could still understand that. But like now that she's gotten a taste of being the top woman, I'm even starting to wonder if she was only thinking that because it's like I'm being maltreated. Like I'm a bigger star than they see me as.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I got the world title, it's like, oh well, I don't need to leave just yet, guys. And she sets her bag down and she makes herself comfortable like 5 more years. It's
Yeah.
like she could like okay, I want to be very careful what I say here. And I say that, but then I'm just gonna say what's been on my mind anyway, and just say that this could be hyperbole on my part, but I'm just saying in terms of like overstaying your welcome, Tam could very well be another Nanae for Bushi Road and just stay like so long because she's in that top spot. Obviously she's not as shitty as Nanae because Nanae, shooting and everything and just being fucking awful. But Tam who knows? You know, I really think like yeah, she could really ride it out with Bushi Road. Young ones, yeah, if they leave for Rossydom, that'd be fucking hilarious. Yeah, I really don't know. I really don't know. But I did want to talk about that with you. Um, and I think yeah, that's the only really big thing because I know neither one of us is too plugged into TNA. I mean, there's really not much to say about Scott Demore and all that. I do kind of feel for the dude, but I mean, it's TNA. There's always something lol worthy going on over there. And WWE, we already kind of talked about that from when it first broke, so no need to rehash old news. So I think with all of that, guys, unless you've got anything else you want to say, Ashton, I think I'm ready to get to the audience Q&A portion of the show.
Sounds good, because I
Um,
didn't do any extracurriculars this week.
Neither did I, unless we count books as extracurricular, and we don't, so I didn't.
No,
So
no.
Q&A,
I mean, unless it was a wrestling book, I would count that absolutely,
no, although
or
there
wrestling related.
there is a wrestling book or two I still would like to read in my lifetime, but no, that did not happen. Um, Q&A time, guys. Please submit your questions and have them be serious questions, preferably.
I'm the type that if there are stories being told in a book by a wrestler, I would rather just hear them audibly.
Yes.
If I'm going to read a book, it's got to be fiction for me personally. I know you're the opposite. You and I have very opposite views on books, but
Yes.
yeah.
Although to be fair, I am getting more into fiction myself. I definitely agree. Nothing
Oh,
nothing wrong, yeah, with a good fiction
that's
story.
awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong
No,
with
it's cool your face,
nonfiction
bro.
either. It's just not my style.
No, no, look, everybody learns differently. Everybody does osmosis differently
Oh,
of, absorbing that knowledge.
not osmosis.
Oh, mitosis. You're a breathing meme, and I love it.
I need to monetize it somehow.
You do. You're not doing capitalism well enough with your own face.
Caster Sales
Um,
question: if Gunta loses the belt in the near future, do you have any idea what he will be doing right afterwards? Yeah, hopefully world title bound.
well, actually, yeah, you said it. I was gonna make some kind of weird joke, but I'm glad you just got to the heart of the matter. Yeah, world title for sure. Super Blue. If not for his health, could we have gotten Triple H versus The Rock at WrestleMania 40? Bro, possibly, but I feel like they were teasing that for so long. It was either shit or get off the pot, you know. So I'm actually even gonna say no to that because they probably would have found another reason not to do it. Um,
Do you guys think Jay Jimmy is still the plan for Mania, considering Cody Roman? They are teasing Jay Gunta. I don't know. Maybe you might
it
still
all
have.
comes down to the finish at Chamber to me because if they
Is
do a finish
Jay
that
Gunta
predicting.
even going to be able to happen at Chamber? I thought Gunta couldn't go to Australia because of U.S. citizenship stuff.
Oh, dude, I don't know how laws work, so you might be right.
I don't
Or dude, they
either.
might just waste it on an episode of Raw, to be honest.
Well, I don't
Like,
know. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. They might put that on Raw. Maybe, oh, yeah, maybe they do it on Raw and then Jimmy fucks Jay over, and that's how we get that match.
no eating piece of shit. Um, but yeah, fucking
I'm off
god.
the injured reserve list, man. I can do whatever you want.
Okay, that did pop me when he did that. But I'm telling you, post Mania season and into the new wrestling season, you got to do more with fucking main event Jey Uso WWE. Like, just have him overcome Jimmy, and let's get fucking serious. I'm tired of playing these games, and I say that knowing that Braun Breaker's probably waiting in the wings for Gunther, and I don't apologize for that, but I can still recognize that Jay's been busting his ass and doing great work. So like, let's get to it. Any other questions, guys? I like the pace that they're coming in at. It's not too overwhelming so far, so let's keep them going. I'm getting hungry. I can't wait to eat after this too. Like,
Nice. Have you had
yeah.
any good food so far today?
Bro, it's been a weird day for me because I woke up at 3:30 and then the family's like, "Do you want to get together and do shows?" And I'm like, "Sure, I don't have to record till 10:30." Dude, I still can't believe how prompt I was with my fucking shower and shit. I feel so good. But we did like a pizza and it was one of the best cheese pizzas I've had in years and I had like four
Nice.
slices of it. So that's
What
all I've
kind
had
of
today. That was like
cheese?
four. Just your standard pizza cheese, man. I think like what is it? Like mozzarella or whatever probably that they do
M-
on them. I don't know.
Mozzarella. Usually it's a mozzarella and parmesan.
Yeah, I think it was just that, and my stomach didn't even get bothered by it, so it was like,
That's
yeah,
fucking phenomenal. I'm so happy
yeah.
for you.
My stomach's like, "It's your birthday month, kid, and you've only been really eating, like, liquid foods practically,
You
so,
earned
like,
this
here."
one, kid.
Yeah, I earned this one, kid. Caster Sales. Oh god, I didn't even know this. Lexis King got cheered on NXT. Do you really
He
think they
did? His
Caster,
match sucked ass. Wait, did I
you did.
pop you and you're just dying?
You did. I need to collect myself after your bewilderment. Okay, now questions are coming in at a greater volume, so let's be quick about this. Lexus King got shared on NXT. Do you think they really like him, or is something else? They better not like him. I mean, I already
I
don't
for
respect Full Sail.
I forget who he faced.
Wasn't it Riley Osborne?
Yes.
Look at
Why
my
would they cheer
fucking
for
memory.
him over the guy Thea? Wait, that's why. They're jealous of Riley because Thea Hale has a crush on him.
Yeah, there you go, Caster. There's your answer.
They're all
Super
fucking
Blue.
incels who wish they could get with Thea Hale, but she has eyes for Riley Osborne, so they're pissed at him and they hate him and they cheered for Lexus King because of it.
It's so true. We're doomed as a society. Super Blue. If Seth and Cody versus Roman and The Rock happen, how would Seth not main event 9-1? Don't hurt me. Wait, you think that that tag match would happen at Mania? There's no fucking way. Seth's got to defend his world title. If you're talking about that match happening at Chamber, how could Seth not main event night one? It's simple because Bailey and Io still
No, no,
exist,
no.
and it
He's
would just
saying if Seth and Cody versus Roman and The Rock happens at Chamber, how could Seth being involved in all that, how could he not then be main event of night one of WrestleMania worthy, basically, I think is what Super Blue's getting at.
well, Super Blue, to answer your question generally, because you did say don't hurt me, and I do think you asked this question in good faith. It's better than like any like faux LA Knight question. It's because it's two completely different stories. Seth is a part of a story that's really about Cody against an entire family line in pro wrestling. Whereas with Seth and Mania, that would be more focused on his world title, which, to be honest, is exceeded in value by that story, mainly
Rusev.
because of Roman. Wait, was that
D
last part? Yes.
DM Hunk.
Yes, dude, he's such a fucking Chad. God damn it.
I know.
Um,
I loved his promo on Friday too, where he comes out and he says, "You should be thanking me. Look at all these things I've done for you." He's so right too. He's done so much for us. He injured CM Punk. He convinced Cody to make the right decision. Like, God, this dude's a king.
bro, someone being a douche and being so right. I prayed for times like this, like he prayed for CM Punk's downfall. It's everything I've ever fucking wanted. And yes, I'm
He fucking prayed for
to answer all the NSFW questions about my feelings. Yes, I am throbbing in all the right places watching DM Hunk do
Oh.
his fucking thing. Yeah, yeah. Smoked meat log up in here. Anyway, we got
Oh.
Amari 316. What are y'all's thoughts on the WrestleMania 40 press conference this past Thursday? I know your mom loved it, bro. I only watched a little bit of it. I barely watched it. Um,
I watched the whole thing.
how did you feel about it?
Um, Seth definitely felt very fourth wheelie for sure, which is why, again, like with the Super Blue question earlier, like Seth being involved in that match doesn't feel like it makes Seth main event worthy. It makes it feel like Seth is like, to put it nicely, it just makes him feel very much like a tag along to somebody else's far more important story. And it makes him and his world title feel less important because he's not even defending it at Elimination Chamber. He's just kind of dragging along for somebody else's story and participating in that rather than having his own story to tell. So to me, if anything, that almost devalues Seth, which tells me even more that it feels like Bailey and Io are main eventing night one.
I mean, bro, like, and again, I say this respectfully to Super Blue and to everybody that might, think as he does. WWE is going out of their own way to like make Seth feel. I mean, they had Roman call it the loser bracket title. How do
He
Bailey and
said it
Io
again
not
at
main
the
event over that?
he said it again at the kickoff show.
Yeah, like
Dude,
that's the
he literally called Seth a bum to his face. He was like, "Get this bum off my stage." It was fucking incredible.
see. Now that's the Ashton Cackles we're here for. Not an ounce of
Dude,
spare in there,
I
just pure
I
reveling
love
and
Roman
douche.
right now. He is so in his bag. It's incredible.
That's why I don't want the run to end. I am still hoping for the triple threat just so we can pin Rock and Cody cries again. Like, yeah, carry it to another year, baby.
Oh
A
my
thousand
god.
years, Roman Reigns.
No, it was just phenomenal. It was incredible. I loved it so much. Yeah. I will say, dude, I really think that they've done an incredible job with this whole storyline. I think introducing The Rock and really working up the internet. It's funny because God, it really is a masterclass of manipulation. And
Yeah,
like I'll never say that manipulation is a good thing, but in an industry that literally relies on manipulating the audience into wanting something so that you can make them pay to get it. Like, yeah, they did an incredible job because I feel like Cody fans were a little content. The Cody fans were a little like, what's the word? It's like they were set. They were
Complacent?
yeah, they were complacent. They were like we knew this was coming. We knew Cody was winning the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row. I'm in. You already know I'm in another forum with a wrestling thread, and these are primarily NFL fans who also like wrestling rather than primarily wrestling fans, which is what I would say our Discord is. And there were people in there who were like, I'm not going to flinch. Cody is winning the Rumble. I will not flinch. We're not flinching. And they were all super confident. And then Cody won the Rumble. And they were all like, yep, see, we told you. We didn't flinch. We knew it. And then The Rock shows up. And every single one of them said, I'm flinching. It was glorious, dude. It was incredible because they're freaking out, and I'm just sitting back like, you motherfuckers don't know how good you've got it. You're gonna get what you want anyway. They're just gonna pretend that you're not for a while to get you to want it more, and it worked. The internet was ablaze with angry Cody fans, the Cody crybabies in the Rock's words, typing away on Twitter. Hashtag we want Cody. Justice for Cody, which was the most absurd one, I think. Like, Jesus Christ.
Way to work yourself into a shoot, jackass.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
You did a great job.
Yes. I achieved.
It was just so funny to me. And the whole thing lasted a grand total of 6 days. And the amount, like, it was so bad that I literally had to like avoid voice calls in our own Discord because I just knew how people would be about it and I didn't want to hear it, you know? Like,
You were so protective of your emotional health, and
I
I'm so
was.
fucking proud of you. I am so proud of you
I
because
was.
dude. I was the same way, even about the Rossi discourse. Because again, dude, I like when you and I are able to get on here and have very calm, high energy because we pop each other and whatever discussions, but it doesn't get like hyperbolic. And if it does, I'll say it in this tone. I'm not going to scream like, "Oh, they're fucking Cody Rhodes," and it's all I get to, it's like breathe. Let's talk about it. Let's get all of our ducks in a row. That's why I waited for things to kind of play out. I do feel bad for some of the fans that like used this work as a pretext to just be shitty to other people because there's never an
Like
excuse for that.
Ava.
Like Ava,
Because
yes,
here's the
most
thing, I don't
notably.
even like Ava. I think she's shitty at her job, but I don't want to go on
Yeah.
her Twitter and tell her about it. I'm not a dick.
Yeah, or like threaten that she should fucking die because of a
Yeah.
storyline. That's what I'm talking about when it's like there's just a sickness in the world. But yeah, like I I I have enjoyed the story like on that notion. And hell, I mean Ace makes a great point.
Oh,
He said at
welcome,
the press conference.
Ace. Great to have you again.
Yeah, absolutely, Ace. All best wishes to you and yours. Absolutely. Ace said one interesting thing though, when Dwayne stepped up, Roman fell back in line real quick. That is a good point because I actually noticed that too. Like when Rock stepped up, he was in the foreground and you couldn't even really see Roman. And that was interesting to me because it's fucking Roman.
Well, because
Um,
Roman respects Dwayne. Roman respects The
yeah,
Rock. That is their whole
yeah.
thing is they don't respect anybody but people in their own bloodline. That's the whole gimmick.
And even then, respect is a bit like I believe it in this case of the Rock Roman relationship, but it's a bit tenuous when you go down the line. Because as Jay Uso about how respected he was in his family.
Well, no, he did respect Jey Uso as long as Jey Uso respected him in his role as the head of the table. But if Jey Uso got out of line and wanted to be the head of the table himself, that was when Roman had to put him back in his fucking place.
Have you this is a bit of an aside question, but I swear like I'm leading up to a purpose. Have you ever seen like those videos where it's like, oh, doctor reacts to fatalities or psychologist reacts to this relationship like on TV that they can like use their major to engage with like broader media? Have you seen those videos on YouTube? Because I've seen a
I've
couple of them.
seen not the ones that you mentioned, but I have seen ones that are like vocal in songs. I've
So you
seen
get the gist of
ones.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I want a psychologist to react to Roman Reigns promos and just his
Oh my
character. Like
god.
dude, I need
Yes.
it.
No, a
I need it, dude.
psychiatrist. Take it up a notch.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a few milligrams of prednisone, and what else do we got going on here? It's like,
Bro.
okay. Um, But yeah, no, the
Start
field day they would have.
start all the way back. Start all the way back with the Shield when he couldn't get over on his own.
Yes. Oh, dude. Oh.
Dude, we should just show that one video. That one video I forget what it was called, but there was this whole video. I don't even remember who made it. I posted it in our
Wait,
wrestling
are you
discussion
thinking about the
channel.
video that you urged me to watch from Super Eye Patch Wolf, like the unreality of pro
Yes,
wrestling or something?
yes, it was Super Eye Patch Wolf. Thank you. Yeah, we should just have a psychologist watch that or a psychiatrist watch that.
Yeah, bro. The crazy thing is, I still haven't watched that video, but I knew exactly what you were talking about because I
Yeah.
remember how enthused you were about it.
Well,
Like that's
dude, because
crazy.
it's fucking incredible. Because it literally walks you through every major step of Roman's WWE career. It doesn't even just do it his career; like it goes back to like his life before WWE, even like very briefly, but it touches on it just to kind of give you a baseline for who he was. And then it's like, here's where he started. Here's the Shield. Here's what happened after the Shield. Here's how much success Seth and Dean found on their own, and how he was like floundering and he couldn't get over and stuff. Like it does everything. He could never get over on his own. And even now, he's not on his fucking own. He has his own faction.
The most secured, insecure baby face of all time, and secured by others mainly. But I'll tell you what, let's put a pin in this because we've gotten quite a few questions. I think after these questions, I'm just gonna close the gate, guys. Just to let you all know. So Super Blue asking who should Oba's next victim, I mean challenger, be at Roadblock. That's why I keep saying Roadblock, by the way, in Vaseline, because NXT's doing a Roadblock show. That's right. Um, God, you know, at this point, I would like Dijak, but I just don't think that's gonna happen. God, I really don't know. Who would be a good challenger for Oba, I wonder? Hmm.
At Roadblock,
Yeah.
Braun.
Bro, maybe,
It would be a really good
maybe.
opportunity for Braun to actually put somebody over before going on the main roster permanently.
True, true. You know, if Briggs wasn't seemingly turning heel, I would say Briggs because that seems like a good Haas fight. But yeah, those are the two best guesses that I have at present. So we'll
Baby
just go with that.
faces. I mean, if we just want to feed someone to Oba, it could be like a Frazier or an Axiom or someone like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Um, Super Blue also did ask if the triple threat happens, will you live Radford the same? Well, actually, Super Blue Ashton's even said that if it is like a triple threat, he'd low key be interested in that, and I'd be open to it just because again, I'd be hoping that Rock would eat the pin and by Roman, and Roman would just retain again, hold it again for another year, and Cody just sulks about it, just because
Well,
honestly, they
dude,
were
what
so
if what if that's the story though? Is like we all thought Cody was going to enter the Rumble #1 this year and win it, but he entered. Do you remember what his number was this year?
it was 15.
It was fucking 15. They went halfway. What if it really is a 3-year story and he fails again this year because Roman pins someone else, and then next year he really does win from the one spot?
God, and then it's like Cody Rhodes has won 3 Rumbles, the same as Stone Cold Steve Austin, and like I just, oh my God.
Man,
Yeah,
fuck Stone Cold. He was a wife beater.
I know, but he was still like such a mega star for the fucking industry. And the idea that they want to put Cody on that level, but then again, I don't even know how much money Cody's making for the company. Maybe he is making Austin money. I don't
Yeah,
fucking know.
I don't know either,
Um,
honestly. You might be right
yeah,
though. It could be.
I'd be kind of horrified to find out the more I think
I
about
do
it.
find.
Yeah, God, Drew, he's getting that fucking bag, man. Good for him, especially if he's on the way out. Like, what better middle finger than to do the best work of your career for a company that you're leaving and being like, yeah, I did this for you, and you're not getting any more of it because you wouldn't pay me what I'm worth. So fuck you. I'm rooting for Drew in this whole thing, by the way. Whatever much money he's asking for, pay him because
I
he's
just
worth it.
saw a comment from Ace the Skylord that popped me. He said that press conference was probably the best acting I've seen The Rock do in ages.
Agreed. Agreed. Actually.
It is true though. That's the thing. They're working so many people. Dude, my mom got worked so hard by that press conference. She thought it was so real. She was
Yeah.
so bought in. And even like the post press conference moment where Triple H is getting interviewed and he's talking about, oh yeah, we got a lot of egos here, and The Rock walks by and he's like, fix it. And Triple H is like, huh? What was that? And he says, fix it. You want to have him talk shit about my family again? It's like this whole thing. It's like, wow, they really are going the extra mile to sell this. It's really good shit because it's like I feel like this was all planned from the get go because once the news broke that The Rock was going to be on the board, The Rock is a smart businessman. Dwayne Johnson is a smart businessman. He
Yeah.
knows how wrestling fandom thinks. He knows that everyone is going to think, oh God, it's Hogan and Nash in the 90s all over again. He's going to use his board position now to give him. He doesn't need this. What? Like, that's my whole thing. Is like people are thinking that The Rock is going to start usurping Triple H as creative. It's like, bruh, he does not have the time or interest in booking the WWE. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, yeah, that's it's just really, really well done, and it's working a lot of people, including a lot of people who aren't usually worked, and that is special in my mind.
Oh, absolutely. I think that also kind of low key answers Amari's question because he asked, "Do y'all think this whole Cody Roman Rock situation was a work the entire time, or it became a work overtime because of the outcry of the Cody fans this past week?" No, I'm willing to bet it was a work the
Yeah,
entire
I
time.
think it was a work the whole time for sure. I think this
Yeah,
was meant to be a work the entire time. I think that the outcry of Cody support was what the WWE expected to happen. I think that was part of the fucking plan.
yeah, that was because to me, I think I've even said this before, but it just like I just want to bear down on this and I want to double down on this. Cody Rhodes is not Daniel Bryan. Like what happened with Daniel Bryan, I don't think was part of the plan for WWE. Like because he just got so organically over. But Cody, just with everything, you could tell like they want him to be the guy. And I think they just wanted to give him that final like big push. So yeah, I think it was worth the entire time. Let's continue with questions. I love the Foster joke. None of this would be happening if they just had Truth win the Rumble. One day, Foster, I'm sure. Ace Skylar, yeah, that was the comment about The Rock. Any other question? Actually, no, I don't think there are any other questions. Oh, no, no, no. Super Blue did ask. Actually, that was the immediate next question. I just skipped over it. I apologize, Super Blue. He said, now that Ruby Soho left the Outcast, will she finally get her push? No. I was even thinking about this today, oddly enough. No, I don't think she will.
If
I
anyone
think
gets
Ruby.
pushed, it'll be Soraya, and it wouldn't even be surprised if Soraya comes out of this the babyface.
I hate that you said that mainly because you're right. Fuck.
I mean,
Um.
think about it. Ruby's the one that betrayed her.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Ruby's the one that
Fuck.
left her standing. Soraya did this big, shocked, oh my god, how could you face? I think they're going to paint Ruby as the heel.
Bro, pro wrestling needs a lot of fixing. We need to remember what friendship is, and we need to remember what, just people leaving bad situations is, and that's not a bad thing. But yeah, I think that was all of our questions. Because, like I said, guys, after that slew of questions, because we've just been talking a lot, and I'm ready to get out of here. Um, and oh, I will just read this comment from Ace, just because I love him and Stella, the whole family. Actually mentioned Stella here. Said Stella is probably the smartest person I know, and she got worked as well up until she saw the press conference. Only then did she realize it was a work. Yeah, they did kind of give the game away a little bit. But yeah, I'm glad that everybody is enjoying the ride. I'm enjoying it a bit more. I'm still hoping Cody fails ultimately, just because I don't know, him failing at his dreams just fills me with a kind of joy that I should probably interrogate deeper. But um, you know what? You know what, Gal? I will answer this question, but then this is the final question I'll be answering, only because I really do like this question. If Becky doesn't beat Rhea, who does? I'm not even fully convinced of that yet, but maybe an NXT call up, or maybe Liv. Liv has got this story where she does want revenge against Rhea, but that could be a revenge deferred. So I'm gonna say
Alternatively,
yes.
Jade Cargill.
That could also be. So I'm gonna say Liv. I like your idea of Jade or a future NXT call up that just hasn't happened yet. Hell, maybe even like a fucking Roxanne because she's the
I was
prodigy
going
and
to
a
say, I do
prodigy
have
again.
another thought in mind because we've got to keep in mind that about 3 weeks after WrestleMania is going to be the draft.
Yes. Yes.
Bianca.
Yes. Yes. I'd love that match because they haven't done that one-on-one match yet, have they? Like for
Not
the
that
for
I'm
for
aware of,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, like
They've been
that would
saving
be
it big
huge.
time.
As they should. That's gonna fucking good
And
because they are both
honestly,
so
does
much better than
anyone
yeah.
want Rhea Ripley to lose that world title yet? Like, I'm good with her keeping it for a while, especially because she won it, what, like last April, I think. Did she win it at Mania last year?
Yeah.
She's had one good defense.
Yeah, bro, like lose it. I feel like she hasn't even gotten started with it
That's
because
what
she's
I'm
in the weakest
saying,
division in the
right?
fucking
Like,
company.
I know she's held it for a year, but like, qualitatively, she's had one good opponent, like one good defense as far as like quality of opponent goes, and it was Zelina Vega at Backlash. And since then, it's been Natalia and Zoe Stark and Raquel, and she even had a recent one against Ivy Nile on Raw. Like, give this woman someone to fucking work with. And now it's gonna be fucking Nia. Like, come on.
I have
And
felt bad for yeah.
even Becky Lynch, as good as Becky Lynch is, I feel like you can do so much better for Rhea specifically. Like, Becky's a great opponent for like a Liv or a Bailey, but like for Rhea, I want to see Rhea go against someone that can match her physically, and that is not Becky at all.
No,
That's why
no.
I'm more excited against Rhea versus a Bianca or a Jade or, someone along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, dude, again, I respect the hell out of Becky. I think from a story perspective, Becky will really bring the goods on the mic. But as I told you, I even had that conversation with Cliff where we kind of had like, I don't want to say a debate because I didn't stick around too long. I'm like, I'm not really committed to this hill. But I said, like, I look at Becky as like a 7.5 at best in ring. Cliff gave her all the way an 8.5, and I wasn't sold. I'm like, nah, because I,
What
I,
did
I
Cliff
feel
give her
like
an 8.5 at?
In ring, because I said for me, Becky's like a 9, maybe even higher, like, promo-wise, because I really enjoy Becky's promo, especially when she's got something to work with,
Right.
but in the ring, I gave her, like, a 7.5. Cliff said, "Oh, I would even go, like, since a certain point, I don't know if in, like, 2021 or what, but he said at a certain point, like, it went up to an 8.5 for me," and I'm like, "Oh, fair enough," but she's never been, like, stellar in the ring to
I
me.
remember that conversation because I was left wondering like what happened in
Yeah.
the period that he said it went up that caused it to go up.
And again, as I told you, and you were kind of perplexed by this, as was I, because I haven't seen the match, but Cliff said allegedly that Becky got a good match out of Xia Li, and I'm like, that's hard to believe. But
Also, just judging someone off of one match seems not
yeah.
ideal either.
But yeah, I honestly would put Bianca's in ring above Becky, but I think Becky's just one of the better talkers in that company. So I know, like, again, the story is going to be there, but the match itself, we'll see. But I feel like
I
there are
think I
so
would
many
give
other
both Becky and Bianca's in ring an 8.
interesting. I think I'd put Bianca slightly above for me personally.
That's fair.
But yeah, point being though, that I think Rhea, because that's who I've really been wanting to talk about.
Yes.
Rhea is one of the best wrestlers just in the world, and she hasn't really gotten a chance to show it. It's like I got this brand new bike, but I'm only able to ride it around my cul-de-sac. Like I want to take it out on the open road, like show me something. And I feel like it's just she's so restricted with this goddamn roster. I hate it. I've honestly I can't remember the last time I felt so bad for a champion as I do with Rhea Ripley, and no wonder she has to do more Judgment Day stuff because if she was purely focused to the women's division, who would give a shit? So WWE is actually smart that way by giving Rhea like a larger share in Judgment Day
Yeah.
because the division ain't gonna take care of her. That
Right.
division's pathetic. You can't even get her in the ring with fucking Shayna, which is what we really all wanted. But no, let's put Shayna with fucking Zoe Stark. I I see these are the things about WWE that I still hate. See,
Yeah.
so there you go. But all right, we're gonna close the gate. Time to get to high spots, low shots, because I am hungry. I'm ready to go home. So let's punctuate this week. My low shot. I'm gonna say my low shot's DIY
That's
because
fair. That's fair. They
they lost chance to
won
go to the championship.
a shot and then they lost it in the
E-
confines of 1 week.
Exactly. Yeah, they were so close, but they couldn't like see it all the way through. So DIY is my low shot. Who is your low shot, friend?
I'm going to give my low shot. You know what? Let me actually look up a result really quick.
Sure.
Um, Here we go. It's just NXT. I want to look and see something real quick. Ah, damn. You know what? Yeah, I think just because of the fact that this week does actually kind of include Vengeance Day, my low shot's going to be Lola Vice because she cashed in and failed and then lost the one-on-one to Roxanne on NXT TV this week. So like she is just spiraling.
Oh, you had my heart in my throat for like 2 seconds because when you queued up with Vengeance Day, I thought you were gonna pull the knife in all of our hearts and be like, "My low shot's Trick Williams," because like that was also a rough week if we're
Trick
counting Vengeance
definitely
Day.
had a really really rough week, but he's still Trick Williams and she's Lola Vice.
That's God, what a retort. Um, all right. high spot. What are we doing, huh? Um,
We're doing great, is what we're doing.
doing my face is what we're doing.
Oh.
Um, God, if I didn't respect everybody's mothers in this sphere, like I've been tempted like 2 or 3 times to be like doing your mom, but it's like no, like ew. Um, so high spot. Who's gonna be the high spot? You know what? My high spot's gonna be. I say, you know what? Like I'm gearing up to say something big, and then I hesitate. High spot. I'll be the douchebag. Actually, no. High spot's Drew McIntyre. Bam.
Beautiful.
Because didn't he beat Sammy on Monday this week? Was that the week before?
Um,
No, he
that
didn't.
was the
That
week
that was the week
before.
before. You know what though? He still had a great
He
promo
beat AJ Styles on Friday.
and qualified for the fucking chamber.
Yeah.
And on Monday too, he came out with the CM Punk shirt and he laid out
The
Seth
DM
and
Punk shirt.
yeah, and then Adam Pierce is all like, "You don't do that." Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Clean. I do what the fuck I want because I'm making this goddamn show. Alright? So why don't you just simmer down and relax? So yeah, DM Hunk is my fucking high spot because everything's coming up McIntyre, baby, and I'm here for it.
Ooh, that was hot.
I yes. Um, so yeah, that's my high spot. Who is your high spot?
Um, my high spot. I think. Let's see. I'm liking the ability to look at results. It feels tangible.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh,
I think I'm gonna keep it really simple and be a basic bitch,
yeah, do it.
and I'm gonna say my high spot is Tony Storm because she won 2 matches this week against potential, maybe at some point contenders in Red Velvet and Queen Aminata.
All right, all right.
I'm not excited about my pick, but I'm trying to just kind of keep it objective, and I don't know. I mean, stuff.
Honestly, I will say before I mention Drew, I was gonna say Carmelo Hayes because I mean he laid out Trick and then he laid out Dragonov and he posed with the NXT title, so he's probably gonna get an NXT Championship match, not even like winning a proper #1 contendership match or whatever, but just because he's that annoying to people. That's pretty effective in my mind. Like even Drew has to qualify and win a fucking chamber. Carmelo's like, nah, fam. Let me just be reprehensible as fuck. The champion will come to me. So,
Nice.
oh god, you gotta love it.
Yeah,
All right.
I didn't really find anybody as far as like WWE universe goes that really felt worthy of a high spot. I think the most successful person this week um, was probably Ilya because he successfully defended his title and then also beat Dijak on NXT. But like,
Yes.
fuck him.
I knew you were gonna go there. I knew it. I was like, he's fucking what do they call it? Like steel manning the argument, and then his retort, "Fuck him." It's like so insubstantive, but so effective. I love it. I love it. Oh
Is
man.
steel
All right.
manning when you build somebody up like really credibly?
Yeah, when you build an argument up really credibly this way, the takedown's that much more effective because it's like, well, I built it up. So like if I'm building it up and making it its absolute strongest and then taking it down, you know that it can never stand on its own. So yeah.
Nice.
You were like steel manning the argument for Ilya, but then the retort was your fucking face. And I dare anybody to say that that's insufficient because, like, no. So great. So great.
You're the best.
God, I gotta suck it back in. Okay.
No, you
All
don't.
right.
Why would you do that? You never have to suck it in here.
Because I
No.
can't laugh yet. I
Why?
gotta hold it in.
No, you
We're
don't.
doing the outro.
Stop
We're doing the
lying.
outro.
You can laugh during the outro.
No, because I have to convey information.
That can be
Um,
done while laughing.
Not effective. No,
I
I'm not having a
disagree.
disc. The idea that we're having a discourse about this is literally absurd. All right. Um, with that said, guys, let me just get it together. Okay. With that said, guys, this has been TWitWoW. This has been the Weekend Review, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans by
Indeed.
wrestling fans on the web today. I'm John. That's my court and commentary Ashton. Guys, be sure to click the like button as you file on. subscribe, click the bell icon as well so you don't miss anything that we're going to check out everything we're involved in the description box. Follow us on Twitter and Twitch because we are the best wrestling podcast in all the YWC. And we will see you guys again. I'm assuming just Thursday for Stardom recap. I know there's been some hubbub in the Patreon request channel in our Discord, so I'm keeping an eye on that. I don't know if anything's going to come down the pipe, but as far as just our standard content, it'll just be Thursday for Stardom. Until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl tomorrow. I'm sure everybody's absolutely enthused. The teams that people were clearly emotionally invested in are vying in the Super Bowl, but it should still be a fun game. So, hope all football fans have a great Super Bowl Sunday. And yeah, we will see you next Thursday at 7 for